Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about What If Naruto X Rias Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Have you ever had a day where things are really looking up only for things to go tits up in an instant? The sun is out, low cloud cover, birds singing, only for a volcano to go off right underneath you? That is what Naruto was feeling right now. Team 7 had been doing well against Kagaya. After Obito's sacrifice to save Naruto and Kakashi, they had rallied, pushing the rabbit goddess back steadily. A cheap shot from Kagaya's will had disabled Sasuke. He would defiantly be down for more than a few minutes, something Naruto knew they couldn't afford. To make matters worse, it seemed Kagaya wanted to cash in on the lull in combat, in which she immediately set out to unleashing her full power on the world around them. It was like hell. Mountains crumbled, large bodies of water began to boil. Cracks ripped through the ground like a vengeful god had struck the earth with a hammer. Tears in the very fabric of reality began to pop up everywhere, some leading to the dead void of space itself, sucking all manner of earth and planet life into itself. Naruto was thinking a mile a second. They needed something, anything. They had to balance the scale now. As if waiting for the word, Naruto saw it, inconspicuous, innocent even. Behind Kagaya another tear formed. It wasn't the same though. Something was different. It was bright. Colorful. Like a rainbow backdrop on the former princess's back. He knew what he had to do as soon as he felt the raw unbridled power leaking from the tear. He saw the results of the action forming in his mind. He could do this. Hey Kurama. You thinking what I am? He shouted into his mind. I know exactly what you're thinking, and it does seem like something you would do, you crazy brat. No knowing what happened to us though. Naruto grew a solemn look, thinking over his decision. Are you with me on this? Brat, I'm stuck either way. Haha. Can you link with the others inside Kagaya? I want you to ask them if they are okay with me doing this. Give me a second. The moments ticked by, second after agonizing second passed in almost slow motion. They're with you, Naruto. Or in Son's words, we ain't got much of a damn choice. Thanks Ku, I'll do everything I can to make sure you guys make it out, that's a promise of a lifetime. A proud grin came over Naruto's face before he turned to his oldest and dearest friends. Kakashi. I need you to do something for me. Kakashi swung his head to look at the glowing blonde, curious on what crazy scheme he had cooked up this time. Lay it on me, Naruto. I'm all out of ideas. He called back. The smile that came over Naruto's face set Kakashi on edge, something about it just didn't seem right. I need you to let everyone when you guys get back. I need you to watch over Sasuke and lead Konoha, teach the future generations like you taught me, alright. Kakashi looked confused before understanding grew in his eyes. What are, Sakura? I need a favor from you too. The pin cat looked up from where she was healing Sasuke. What is it, Naruto? I'm a little busy. She was a bit annoyed. Didn't Naruto get that healing took concentration? I know. Look, take care of Sasuke, okay? And apologize to Hinata for me. I have to break my promise to her. She's gonna need you to support her too. What the hell are you on about? Sakura shouted back, miffed that he would ask such a thing during at this point in the battle. It's not like he was going anywhere. Just do as I ask, okay? I love you guys. Kakashi went to stop him, he wanted to so much, but his body just wouldn't move. The shock of what his student was about to do, nailing him in place. Naruto, wait. The blonde grinned, melancholy clear on his visage. In a burst of light he was upon Kagaya, his body bowling her and himself into the portal as the white-haired chakra monster reacted by stabbing an all-killing ash bone into Naruto's side. They both cried out, one in pain, the other in shock, as the portal closed behind them. It was like a switch was flipped. The world they were stuck on righted itself almost instantly. The waters calmed, the ground stopped shaking, and the tears in the world sealed. What just happened, Kakashi? Sakura spoke softly, shock running through her. Where did Naruto go? What did he do? Kakashi. Desperation colored her words as her hands gripped into fists tightly. Kakashi just stared at the stop Naruto had disappeared into, the consequences of his inaction starting to weigh on him slowly. Kakashi. Where is Naruto? Sakura's voice slammed into him like a blade biting into flesh. He looked down, his eyes shadowing his face. He's gone. The answer was like a whisper, a ghost floating on the wind. That didn't stop it from cutting into Sakura like a knife. The hurt was instantly on her face. You're lying. She shouted in a panic. Naruto. Get out here. I'm gonna pound you so hard if you don't get out here right now. Silence met her declaration. Final. Absolute. Naruto. Get out here. You promised me we'd bring Sasuke home together. God damn it, Naruto. Her vision blurred slowly. Her eyes searched the empty field, desperate for that glaring orange outfit. She turned again and again, frantic, before two arms wrapped around her, halting her movement. Sakura, he is gone. He tackled Kagaya into one of the tiers, you saw her stab him. He is gone. Kakashi spoke softly, but each word rocketed into her. Tears quickly filled her eyes, she wanted it to stop. He had to be lying, Naruto didn't know how to lose. He was unstoppable, damn it. He wasn't gone. Sakura turned to scream that in Kakashi's face only to stop short. Something was wrong. Sakura knew the person before her was supposed to be her teacher, a strong man, a man that never broke under pressure. Seeing the tears staining his face mask didn't make sense. I'm sorry he's gone. Her throat tightened harshly. No. 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 She tried to shake the hands off of her arms, tears spilling along her face in a slow cascade. No. You're wrong. She screamed in defiance, even as she sank to her knees. Kakashi quickly wrapped Sakura in a hug. They could worry about leaving this world later, right now it was just the three of them. The remnants of Team 7. Now it was time for them to mourn. Kakashi sighed bitterly, hot tears marring his face, as Sakura wailed in his arms. How would you explain this to everyone? Scene change. Fuck. That hurt. Naruto grit his teeth as he dragged Kagaya into a long fall. He could already feel the all-killing ash bone going to work, his yin-yang release worked to halt the damage, but he knew it wouldn't last forever. Kagaya was distracted, looking around shocked at the area around them. Naruto could hear a battle in the distance, but that wasn't important right now. He had to act. Raw. With a mighty cry, he latched his left hand on Kagaya's forehead, directly over her third eye. Now Kurama. Pull with me. He screamed into his mind. You see, chakra transference worked both ways. It was give and take. Naruto was a master of chakra transference, and right now, he was taking back his friends. Aggh. Kagaya screamed in pain and shock, her power. No. Forming another all-killing ash bone, she slid it into Naruto's stomach neatly. She had come too far. Was too close. Give me back my friends. Naruto shouted as he ripped his hand away from Kagaya's forehead, pulling the chakra of the nine-tailed beasts from her body in one harsh withdrawal. It entered his system as they both continued to fall. Damn you, Kagaya's eyes dripped, dimming as they continued to fall. Naruto released his hold on her, he had won. A grin broke across his face as another tier of space-time formed below him. Oh, fuck. Ground. Naruto grimaced, this was gonna suck. Naruto smacked into the ground with a vengeance, the two all-killing ash bones in his center, driving deeper into his body. Ah fuck. He shouted. Casting his eyes around, he surveyed his surroundings. Good, no one nearby. He didn't have long, he had to be quick. Commanding 9 of his truth-seeking balls, he molded them into a vaguely human shape, it was hard to tell, he couldn't see straight. With a grunt, he pushed the souls of each Biju into one of the forms, along with a portion of power proportionate to the number of tails they owned. I wonder if this is how Old Man Sage felt when he made them the first time. Naruto rolled onto his back, exhaling sharply before he gazed off to his left. He must have landed on a cliffside. The sunset was really pretty. Naruto. He blinked slowly as forms filled his vision. Kurama had really long hair, it was a pretty orange too. Hey guys, sorry it took so long. He spoke as a cough interrupted him, racking his body. Hey, it's fine. Why was Kurama's voice so high? How do you guys like the bodies? I had to work quick. I wanted to give you guys your old bodies, but I had to use something I was more familiar with. He tried to be cheery, dying really hurt though, so grinning and laughing was a touch difficult. We love them, now be quite okay. Matabi and I are gonna start healing you, okay? Casting his eyes upwards he gasped softly, Kurama. You're a woman. He was shocked as hell. Is this my fault? Damn it, I'm sorry buddy. PSH, don't worry about it, brat, I still kick ass. Kurama spoke back, even as she desperately tried to push chakra into her former host's body. What did I say about talking? You're making this hard for us, you know. Kurama felt strange, her throat was tight and her eyes kept blurring for some reason. Hey, are you crying, Ku? Naruto spoke softly before a cough ripped through his lips, blood spattered across his mouth and face. Stop talking, damn it. Kurama pushed more chakra into him, trying to will his injuries to heal. Hey, it's okay, Ku, we both know I was done the instant that old bitch put her first, all-killing thingies in my side. Naruto stretched his arm and whipped the tears off of Kurama's cheek. Almost 17 years of constantly fighting, and here was the beast of malice, crying over his dying body. Ironic. It'll be okay guys. You have each other, look after each other, okay? Otherwise I'll have to leave my rest to set you all straight. In some weird way, I kinda am your dad now, A joker to the end, Naruto was. He won. It wasn't time to be sad. Kagaya was beaten, his world was safe, and he even saved the Biju. He was awesome, Dadabeo. He smiled up at Kurama, her hair was really pretty, you know, at least I did a few things right. You have really pretty hair now. Kurama could feel her chest tightening in despair. Naruto's breathing grew more labored. The other 8 Bijuu had already stepped back to allow them some privacy. Matabi had grabbed her shit briefly as she walked away, tears falling from her face. Why yeah thank you Naruto haha she grabbed the hand on her cheek and held onto it like a lifeline. I'm glad this is where I'll die the view is really beautiful Kurama looked up and saw the sunset that had caught Naruto's eyes. Yeah it's like the world is sending you off brat he's still on brat huh. I guess I can live with that haha Naruto chuckled even as his vision began to rapidly fade, his grip slowly slackening. Naruto please don't go. We still need you. Kurama was desperate, anything just God please anything to keep this magnificent person alive. Hey it's okay Ku protect your brothers and sisters do it for me okay. Naruto spoke softly with a grin as his eyes slid closed, never seeing the frantic nod as Kurama clutched his hand tighter. I swear. I'll keep everyone safe. I promise. My promise of a lifetime you know. Kurama hated this. Emotions were the worst. He looks like I did really well with making you all as human as possible, you even have a tick like me and mom hahaha well welcome to the family Kurama. Naruto eased his smile, soft and bittersweet. He was really tired this was a good place for a nice long rest. Dying took a lot out of a man. Hahaha, saved the world, all his friends, stopped a goddess, and even became a father. How could a man as awesome as him find a better way to go? Cracking his eyes open one last time, he cast a bright bloody grin to Kurama as the light in his eyes finally faded. Take care Kurama Naruto. 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 Kurama shook his body. Not yet. Damn it not yet. It wasn't right. Come on breathe. Come on. Naruto. Matabi and Son Goku wrapped their arms around her, slowly pulling her away from the boy who had saved them all at the cost of his life. Naruto. Stop. Let me go. I can still save him. Naruto. That smile. That damn smile was still on his face. Son Goku was amazed, Kurama, the strongest and harshest of them, crying over a human. Naruto really was one of a kind. He whipped a straight tear as he held his wailing well sister now. It didn't bother him too much Kurama never really identified as anything. Rest easy kid you out of everyone you've earned it. He gazed out into the sunset. It really was a beautiful place to die. Naruto opened his eyes slowly, before quickly sapping them shut. Could somebody kill the sun please? Fuck. A low groan escaped his lips. You're awake I see Naruto's eyes snapped wide open again, trying to locate the voice. Easy child. I mean you no harm. Yeah well excuse me for not trusting a disembodied voice. Naruto lamented. Why can't I move either? He felt very calm for some reason, especially considering he couldn't move. You are a soul now. Nothing but thought and feeling. I would be amazed if you could move. And there was that voice. It was close, yet far. Familiar and warming, but also strange and hollow. Naruto grimaced, he hated weird supernatural things. So I actually died huh? Man that blows. You are unusually calm about this revelation. Well, I did save my friends. And I saved Kurama and his her family now. Man I screwed that up hahaha there isn't much reason for me to be worried. I died doing what I love to do, saving others. He felt a grin spread across his face, that's right, who's the man? Right here baby. So you are a hero then? I wouldn't say that. I don't like watching people suffer, you know. If it means my life, well, that's okay then. You are fascinating, most humans weep for more time when they are called upon. Even those that others call heroes shed a tear at the life they can no longer lead. I could be upset I guess, a frown marred Naruto's face, but I don't see the point. I know they are all safe now and they can handle themselves. Silence permeated the area, long and drawn out. Would you return to the land of the living if you could? Thinking on it Naruto sighed well yeah I suppose. I made Kurama cry, which sucks, so it'd be nice to make it up to her. Not to mention I could have Raymond again. Man I'm gonna miss the hell out of Raymond. What is Raymond? Outrage quickly filled our resident blonde Raymond is the food of the gods. All shall worship the broth of life and noodles of knowledge. Came Naruto's vehement reply. A tinkling laughter reached his ears. Oh my. I wasn't aware that I had made such a dish. A beat come again, Naruto said as he swallowed softly. He was dead, he realized. This might just be the afterlife. Heaven. Aw fuck. Close, but not quite. You see, I am what you would call an elder god. A primordial. I came before the cosmos, and I shall be hereafter. Oh well when you put it that how the hell did I bypass heaven? He screamed mid-sentence, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. He should have met his mom and dad in the Pure Land. Had bowls of ramen galore. It wasn't fair. My oh my you are excitable. You see, when you died, you did something no organic life before you has done. You ascended to the levels of godhood. To some that just means you became powerful, but really it is a state of mind. You accepted the cycle of life, understood the ins and outs of creation and destruction. Frankly, and in layman's terms, you got really lucky as you died. Naruto shook his head as he laughed haha well Kakashi did say I had the luck of the devil. So did pervy sage, come to think of it, an old lady Tsunade, huh? Naruto grasped his chin and thought. Looking back to it, he really was good at poker and games of chance. Oh my. It seems you have truly earned the right to be called a god. Few can move in my presence. What are you talking about, lady? I still can't. Naruto spoke as he pointed a finger into the empty void around him. Pointed. His arm. And hand. It moved. Holy shit. I can move. Awesome. Naruto shouted as he began to do a small jig. Haha, marvelous, just marvelous. The voice spoke again before a bright light flashed in front of Naruto. What is it with being dead in brightness? The woman stood before him now, a long flowing white gown, rainbow-colored tresses cascaded down her form, soft angular features and eyes that may as well be beams of light in their brightness. Yes, you can. Move, that is. So tell me. If I granted you a way to go back to the last world you were on, would you? I much enjoyed watching your life, I would be remiss to not see it continue. Naruto shrugged as he sat down. Doesn't that go against the cosmic balance or something like that? I died, shouldn't I, stay dead? He spoke, honestly confused. If you were merely immortal, yes. You die, go to one of the many afterlives, serve time there, then become reincarnated. However, as you are now a god, you now have the choice on just going back. Though you would have to act as an actual god of something, things like love or luck, and you wouldn't be able to interact with your friends. That kinda dampens the whole point of going back. Naruto leaned back onto his hands, crossing his legs. A deep look of concentration on his features before inspiration struck him. Hey. What about being reincarnated? He looked up at the elder god. I'm sorry, what? You would give up being a higher god just like that? The being spoke, shock coloring her words. Well, I may not remember my friends if I become reincarnated, but I could meet them again, right? You could reincarnate me in the place I'm most likely to meet them all again, couldn't you? Well, yes, but there is still no way of. Naruto cut the almighty off. Then let's do that. You can watch me grow to be a super badass again, I get to meet my friends and make new ones, and we don't fuck up the balance of the universe. The being stared, it truly couldn't comprehend the young man in front of her. But why? Would it not be better to watch over them from on high? Would this mortal really give up ultimate power for other mortals? Not if I can't help them when they're hurt or scared or lost. I know I can't go back to my world. I can feel that much, but the Biju, Kurama most of all, still needs someone to help them. I can't really do that as a god now, can I? Naruto spoke, as if it was the simplest thing in the world, and to him it was. Power meant nothing if he couldn't use it to help his friends. You truly are one of a kind, aren't you, Naruto? Fine, I suppose we can do this a different way for once. I will personally reincarnate you into that world and put you on the closet path to your friends. In return, all I ask is a good show. Being an all-power goddess is woefully boring. That tinkling laugh again, it was pretty if Naruto was honest. You got a deal? Hey, what should I call you? I can't just call you, you after all. Naruto felt like an ass. A whole conversation and he never asked for a name. He really needed to work on his manners. I do not have a name. I have existed for all time, child, a name wasn't necessary. A frown marred Naruto's face once more. Well, that's not right. Everyone deserves a name. How about Megami? It's a little unoriginal, but it really does fit you to a T, haha. Naruto scratched the back of his head with a grin, a little nervous at being so informal with well god. I suppose if that is what you wish. Megami. Alright. Hold still, things are about to get very uncomfortable for you. To reincarnate you I must seal your powers, doing so will make moving, or even seeing me, impossible. Aw, that sucks. I hate not. It was like a dam burst on top of him. An unholy weight barred down on him, freezing him mid-word. Panic filled his heart before his world once again went black. Scene change. Inside the Gremory-owned territory of Kuo, a child wrapped in a blanket was set at the steps of an orphanage, two blonde fox ears poking out. Megami watched on, hidden from the senses of the world. Now then, Naruto, give me a good show. She said to herself as the matron opened the front door and gasped at the small bundle at her feet. What on earth? Who left a child out here in the cold? Come here, sweetie, let's get you inside to somewhere nice and warm. She waved her finger softly in front of the infant's face, taking notice of the two animal ears upon his head and the name sewed into the blanket. Naruto, a young yokai, fox by the look of him. The poor dear's mother must have abandoned him. Come on now, I bet you're hungry. Happy little gurgles met her words as the infant gave what would pass for a smile. I can't believe someone would leave such a cute baby. The old matron thought to herself. Some people could be so deplorable. I'm skipped 10 years later, an. I'm only gonna do like 3 of these, so bear with me. Bright blue eyes gazed out into the open yard of the orphanage. The sun lower in the sky, shining the few trees in an evening light. It had been a strange start for the young boy sitting here. Not bad per se, just kinda empty. Not many families that came to the out-of-the-way orphanage were interested in adopting a young yokai. Least of all the infamous tricksters of the fox variety. The boy hung his head with a small sigh. With Hima leaving with her new family, it was just left him with Kiba to play with. The other kids didn't like him too much cause always got into trouble and Kiba was such a goody-goody that it meant playing with him was really boring sometimes. It was so unfair. 9 bushy tails swung lazily behind our little blonde, he was becoming bored already. Maybe he should go into town. Then again, last time I went to town without asking, Grandma Iho got really mad. A dilemma to be sure for one so young, go do something fun and risk the head matron's ire or stay inside and be bored. Truly a debate for the ages. What's that saying? Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Something like that. A sly grin slid over the boy's features. Grandma will be fine. The boy stood and silently made his way to the door, being sure to sneak past the other caregivers in the building so they didn't sick Iho on him. Old she may be, but damn if she couldn't sniff out his every hiding place. Giving himself one last chance to look around, he bolted out the front door and across the yard. Adventure, thy name is Naruto. Scene change. Naruto stood in an alley just off of Main Street. He had been in such a rush to sneak away from Iho, he almost forgot to hide his foxy features. Humans weren't really the friendliest bunch toward yokai for some reason. Not to mention they weren't really supposed to know about the supernatural. It all honestly went over the youth's head, how was anyone more important than anyone else? Grandma Iho said everyone is equal. And she should know, she is ancient. On a completely unrelated note, Iho looked up from the needlework she was doing on some old sheets. For some reason, she suddenly had the urge to smack a blonde in the back of the head. Sighing as his ears and tails shimmered out of existence, Naruto took to strolling down the main market square. He loved coming to the market during the afternoon, it was always so loud and vibrant. So alive. A coy smile slid into place on Naruto's face, his eyes closing as he allowed his other senses to take in the world around him. Without warning, Naruto was thrown to the ground, a cloaked individual speeding past had knocked him over in an attempt to duck into the side alley he had hidden in a few moments ago. Seeing the figure on the ground, he grew a bit miffed but decided to look past it as he hauled himself to his feet. Hey. You okay? He asked the downed figure was that bread in its hands. Stop that thief. A shout echoed behind the young kitsune. Damn it. Okay, options. Leave and don't make a fuss. Pros. Don't get in trouble with the locals more than usual. Cons. Not helping someone that for all intents might really need it. Option 2, pay for the loaf of bread and hope the shopkeeper that had been chasing the poor bastard down would be reasonable. Pros. Help someone and maybe get a bit to eat. Cons. Spending what little allowance he had to help a stranger who then still might get into a lot of trouble for stealing. Option 3, help the poor sod to their feet and guide them through the back alleys till they were home free. Pros. Get to help someone and again maybe a nice bit of bread for being a well not good Samaritan, but something like that. Cons. He will be aiding a crime, which means he would get punished too. The figure on the ground curled up on itself, tucking the bread close to its body, preparing to take any retribution rained down upon, so long as it could keep the bread. Damn it. Why did he have to have such a bleeding heart? Come on. I'll help you out of here. Naruto spoke as he grabbed the figure by the sleeves, ignoring the startled gasp it let out before he began the long stupidly short task of outpacing and hiding from the shopkeeper. Scene change. Ducking into his fifth alley, Naruto cast a glance backwards, his eyes lighting up as he realized the shopkeeper wasn't in sight. Coming to a stop, the cloaked figure sat down and began munching on the loaf of bread immediately. Hey, are you okay? Naruto asked the cloaked figure softly, kneeling down to look into the head of the cloak. The figure stopped all movement, its thin hands loosening its grip on the loaf of bread. Father, came a croaked voice from the hood. Naruto could feel the tension in the air, but that one word made his expression for blank. Father. It's you. It's you. It's you. The figure dropped the bread, food far from its mind. I'm sorry pal, but I'm not old enough to be anyone's father. Naruto spoke in a deadpan tone. Oh great, did he just save a crazy person? Just perfect. The others said you had gone away, but I knew they were wrong. They are always so mean. You should punish them, father. Telling mean lies about father is not good. The figure croaked out. Its hands slowly set themselves onto Naruto's cheeks, even as the mad creature rambled on. Naruto, for one, was kinda at a loss. He just wanted to have some fun. Not become a father. Hey, easy. What are you talking about? He quickly reached up and pulled the hood of the figure's head. Well, at least he was right about this person being male, though it looks like he hasn't seen sunlight in a while. He looked so young too, the pale skin and deep coloring around the eyes spoke of lack of sleep as well. Sandy blonde hair sat atop the figure's head, along with a pair of rounded off triangular ears. It was a yokai. Black lines crisscrossed the man's skin in a weird tribal pattern. The man's eyes were what really caught Naruto off guard. A dull yellow stared back at him, not uncommon in yakai, especially Nekomata. There was a broken ring around the iris, like little dashes, in the middle, a four-pointed black star, with 4 dots in between the elongations of the star. He had seen this somewhere. "I'm so glad you're okay, father. I missed father." The voice brought Naruto out of his musings. Naruto shook his head. Yeah, I missed you too." Naruto questioned more than asked. Might as well find out all he could before this headache got even bigger. "Can you tell me your name? It seems I've forgotten it in my old age." Something was inherently wrong with those words leaving the 10-year-old's mouth. "It's Shukaku, father." The face before Naruto grinned. Father really was here. "Yeah, listen Shukaku, do you want to come with me? You look like you've had a pretty rough go of it." Naruto really felt for the poor guy. He'd probably been on the streets for weeks with the way he looked. Naruto really hoped Grandma Iho wouldn't mind, but he couldn't leave the poor guy on the streets. An enthusiastic nod and bright grin was his response. Naruto had to smile a little. It always felt good making other people smile like that. "Come on, I'll show you to the orphanage I stay at. I'm sure Grandma Iho will be happy to meet you." Naruto grabbed Shukaku's hand and started to drag him along, quickly heading toward the place he called home. Scene change. Our young blonde hero had to shake his head. This Shukaku kid hadn't stopped rambling since he started. It was a little annoying, though the deference Shukaku gave him when he spoke was kinda nice, like having a little sibling. He stopped mid-step, a curious look taking over his features. Shukaku walked straight into him for his lack of movement. Smoke was in the air. Why was there smoke? No one else really lived this far outside of town. The orphanage. Naruto grabbed Shukaku tightly by the arm, fear settling into his heart as he kicked rocks around the last few turns. Shukaku's startled cries lost to him. He froze when he saw it. It was like a bucket of ice had been dumped over him, freezing him to his very soul. There were people on the ground outside, flames reaching high into the air as smoke billowed out of the open windows and doors. He saw a few caretakers, along with a dozen or so kids off to the side of the yard, propped up against the fence lining the perimeter. What was going on? "Somebody. Help me." A voice called from the main doorway before the young yakai. It was Grandma Iho. She was dragging one of the other caretakers out of the building. She must have saved the others. "Shukaku, I needed you to stay right here, okay?" Naruto spoke in a rushed tone. He couldn't have this poor kid getting caught up in this. "But father. It isn't safe," Shukaku claimed as he grabbed his wrist, his fingers clutching tightly around the older-looking boy's appendage. "I know. That's why you need to stay here. I have to help Grandma. So stay put." Ripping his arm free, Naruto quickly ran to Iho's side. "Grandma. I'm here. What can I do to help?" He called as he grabbed the downed caretaker's arm and forced Iho over. Two made carrying someone easier than one. "Naruto. Thank God. I thought you were still inside. Where the hell did you run off to?" "Oh boy." Grandma was pissed. "Now wasn't the time for that though. Yell at me later." "What happened here?" Naruto asked, shouted over the roar of the fire. They were far enough away now that they could safely lay the unconscious caretaker down fully. Some men came, they started gathering up children and loading them into vehicles. When the others tried to stop them, they pulled out weapons and set the building on fire. "I tried to save everyone I could, but," she stopped as tears gathered in her wizened eyes. "I'm sorry sweetie, they took Kiba," the old matron shocked out. Naruto felt the world spin a little. What did she mean? Where did they take Kiba? What are you talking about, old bat? Where did they take the others? The words left the blonde's mouth before he realized what he was saying. He braced for the smack to the head such an insult would have earned, only for nothing to happen. The old lady was sitting down, she was coughing roughly as well. "Grandma, I'm fine sweetie, just a lot of excitement for these old bones," she replied. "Listen Naruto, there are a lot of things you don't know about this place, things me and the others tried to keep hidden from you and the rest of the children. You might have picked up on it, not all of you are exactly normal. This orphanage was started by the Gremory family," Iho continued. "You mean the people that own half of Kuo?" Naruto shouted in surprise. He turned as he heard rapid footsteps approaching, Shukaku running to his position. "Yes, this place is for special cases. Children who have lost their families due to the machinations of the Holy Church or fallen angels. Even the victims of stray devils get sent here. It's supposed to help foster supernatural acceptance in human society." The woman picked P where she left off. "Everyone here had something unique about them, which is why we were so out of the way. Only certain families got to come here to talk about adoption, people the Formau had handpicked." Naruto had confusion clear on his face, none of this made any sense. "Grandma, you're not making any sense. What does any of this have to do with why so many people are hurt?" Naruto asked. "We were hidden. With so many special cases in one place, it had to stay hidden from anyone that would want to take you all away from some nefarious deed. You, Kiba, all the others. You all had to be protected from those that would wish you harm." The old woman sighed, apparently they hadn't been hidden enough. "So then how did they find us?" Naruto questioned. If they went to such great lengths to keep them all hidden, how did this happen? Iho looked up at Naruto, for the first time seeing the sandy blonde beside him. Quickly moving to her feet, she pushed Naruto behind herself as a knife appeared in her hands. "Who are you?" the matron shouted as the air shimmered around her, giving way to two grey dog ears and a long tail. "Answer me or I'll kill you where you stand. You won't take another one of these children." Naruto was shocked. Old Lady Iho was like him. "Grandma, wait." The call pulled her attention to the boy behind her. "He came here with me. I found him while I was in the market being chased by some shopkeepers. He looked like he hadn't had a place to sleep in weeks, so I brought him back with me." The boy carried on. Today was all kinds of crazy. What was going on? The old woman lowered the knife, finally taking in the young boy before her. A sigh passed her lips as she slumped to the ground in relief. She was getting too old for this. "Naruto, you really do try an old woman, don't you?" she said, a chuckle in her voice. "That boy, who knew such a cute baby would grow to be such a troublemaker. I couldn't just leave him there. Plus, for some reason, he thinks I'm his dad. Don't ask me." The boy responded. Iho raised him to help those in need, so really it was her fault. Plus it serves her right, always smacking him for calling her old. He was just being honest, geez. "Right, Naruto, listen to me. You are very special. Among all the children here, you are the only one that wasn't brought in by a devil. As far as I know anyway. I found you on the doorstep 10 years ago, with only a blanket." Iho said as she sheathed her knife. It was time for some harsh truth for the boy. "The Mayus don't know you're here. I never reported you to them." She spoke. "But that means," Naruto said, realization dawning in his eyes. "Yes, I'm why you haven't been adopted. You have to understand, my boy, you are a nine-tailed fox yokai. That means whoever left you here didn't realize that you were a part of the royal family of the yokai faction." Iho pieced together for him. She hated that hurt look on his face, years of lying finally catching up to her and weighing her down. "But why am I here now? Where is my family?" Naruto asked, even more questions entering his mind. Royalty. Did that mean he had actual living breathing family out there? Where were they? Why did they leave him here? How could he find them? "I don't know, sweetie. I tried searching for so long, but the only nine tails that currently is said to exist is Yasaka, and as far as I have learned she doesn't have any children except a young daughter." Iho told him. That first night she brought him into the orphanage, she knew she had to protect him from everyone. All kinds of being would wish to have a nine-tailed fox at their beck and call, even an immature one. She kept his identity hidden from the world around him. "Naruto, listen to me. You need to run. By now the Gremory family has heard of what happened here and will move to secure the area. You cannot let them catch you. They won't harm you, but they will try to use your power for their own good. Go to Kyoto, there is a shrine there that houses the royal family. It's at the base of Mount High. On the path to the shrine, let your features out. They will probably detain you so you can speak to Yasaka. Do not fight them. She will be able to help you more than I can now." The old woman spoke quickly. Time was short and Naruto need to go now if he was to escape undetected. "Granny, I can't just now, Naruto. Take your friend and go quickly. I've seen what devil kind do to yokai that are powerful. I refuse to let them make you into a slave or corpse." Her tone was serious, even as her heart broke. The tears in Naruto's eyes cut into her. "We'll be fine, help is on the way for all of us, but you can't be here. I won't let them have my little Yippee." Iho spoke with a sad smile. That silly nickname left her lips so easily. Naruto hated it when she called him that. "I love you, like my own flesh and blood, so please, for me, go." Naruto wanted to scream. He didn't want to go, damn it. He wanted answers. He wanted to stay with Granny. Why did he have to go because of some stupid devil? It was the hand on his shoulder that gave him pause. Shukaku was at his side, a serious look on his young features. "Father, people are coming, it's not safe here anymore." The soft voice came to him like breath of wind. "Damn it wasn't fair. I'll come back," Naruto said softly as his hair shadowed his eyes. "I'll get my answers and come back and find you, Granny. You still have a lot to answer for too, you know." He tried to keep his voice from cracking. The lump in his throat was becoming a problem. "And when I do, you better have your homemade ramen ready. Otherwise I'll be really mad and prank you, you got it?" Iho smiled up at him. "I wouldn't have it any other way, Yippee." She spoke, smugness trying to cover her sorrow. "Don't call me that. I'm not a baby anymore." Naruto ground out as he turned on her, shaking a fist angrily. The soft hug embraced the young fox. "Be strong, Naruto boy. I'll be here when you get back. I just need you to get some protection for a little while. When you make it to Kyoto, the other factions can't touch you." Iho spoke softly. She could feel Naruto's tears land on her should as he hugged her back fiercely. "I'm coming back," Naruto said again as he finally released Iho. It was mostly to reassure himself. "I'm coming back." Naruto grabbed Shukaku's hand and booked it out of the open yard as smoke rose behind him. the fire still raging strong. "I'm coming back" played over and over in Naruto's mind, like a prayer. He would come back, damn it. Shukaku just gripped Naruto's hand tightly as they speed through the sparsely populated area on the edge of town. He hated seeing father sad. Scene change. It had taken a few days, a lot of sneaking around, and they had more than a few close calls and far more stealing than he was comfortable with, but somehow, Naruto and Shukaku had made it to Kyoto. They stood on a hill just outside the south end of the city, the evening sun still bearing down on them. "So this is where my people come from," Naruto thought to himself. "Well, here we are, Shukaku. What do you think?" Naruto glanced at his company and had to sweat drop. Shukaku was laying on the ground, spread eagle, looking as dead to the world as a grave. Huh. Maybe all that not sleeping finally caught up to him, Naruto said to himself as he glanced around. The tree Shukaku was under did have a lot of shade. Plus he hadn't had much sleep either the last week. Ah, what the hell, a nap sounds nice. Naruto laid a few feet from Shukaku, gazing out into the city. "You know," he thought, "that sunset makes this place really beautiful. I felt like I've seen it before." With a shrug he closed his eyes. "You've seen one sunset, you've seen them all. Time for some Z's." The city of Kyoto was beautiful, Naruto decided. Traditional architecture and a lively forest life in and around the city just made it feel so alive. Small animals could be seen ducking in and around the trees surrounding the entirety of the city and just gave a small sense of wonder. Naruto and Shukaku had been walking through the city for some time now, taking in the sights as any good tourist. Well, Naruto was taking in the sights, Shukaku was just exuding an aura of excitement and joy, something Naruto didn't really get, but to each their own. Another reason they were taking the scenic route to the shrine was something Naruto would vehemently deny to his dying day. They were lost. You see, other than Iho's instruction of the shrine at the base of Mount Hiei, they had no idea where to go. As any Japanese city would, Kyoto and Mount Hiei in general had dozens of shrine locations. They had visited 2 shrines already, and aside from some pretty art and stonework, nothing had come off it. So once again, they were on a path through Kyoto to see if they could make the best of a bad situation. Naruto hung his head and sighed. Why can't stuff like this ever be easy? He asked, mostly to himself. Because father, nothing easy is ever worth the effort in the end, came Shukaku's reply. If Naruto didn't know any better, he would suspect Shukaku of being sarcastic and snippy. Well, it's getting close to noon, wanna grab some lunch? Naruto looked to his traveling companion. They both hadn't eaten yet, and with so little cash, it would mean they were going to have to steal again. Naruto grimaced, he wasn't against stealing per se, just doing it so much couldn't be good karma. With a smiling nod as his answer, Naruto turned to walk down a side street to head back to the main square and maybe a food stand. He made it approximately 3 steps before walking straight into another person. Karma. It is a powerful force. With a startled yelp and flailing arms, both the newcomer and Naruto fell to the ground, landing firmly on their behinds. Ow. Ouch. Came the sounds of the 2 crash victims. Father. Are you okay? Shukaku called, honestly sounding panicked. I'm fine. Kaku, just an accident. Naruto said quickly as he stood and started to brush himself off. Last thing he wanted to do was send his friend into a panic attack for something this embarrassing. Hey, are you okay? Naruto asked to the other downed individual. Yes, I'm fine. Came the distinctly feminine voice. Oh great, he had knocked over a girl, a young one based on her stature. Scantly a few inches shorter than Naruto's own 5-foot frame, with long crimson hair and blue eyes clashing spectacularly, rounded facial features completed the girl's face. She was wearing a long navy blue dress, a white buttoned-up shirt tucked in, over his shoulders sat a crimson knee-length jacket with dull golden accents. There were 2 other girls behind her, the oldest looking of the trio moving to help the redhead to her feet. Naruto rubbed the back of his head as he offered his own hand in assistance, absent-mindedness would be the death of him. The girl took the offered hand and Naruto hauled her to her feet with a soft tug. Heh, sorry about that. I wasn't really paying attention to where I was going. Me and my friend were about to go get some lunch, would you like to come with us? You and your friends. As an apology. Naruto spoke quickly. He had already knocked the poor girl down, might as well try to make it up to her. No thank you. Me and my friends were actually on our way to the local shrine to meet my older brother. I thank you for the offer, however. The young girl was articulate, Naruto noticed. As she spoke he took the time to observe her companions. The first was a girl a year or so older than Naruto himself if he guessed. Long raven hair sat atop her head, with violet eyes, piercing into our young hero, judgment clear in her eyes as she observed the poor boy. She looked to be wearing a traditional Maiko outfit. Long red Hakama-style pants and a white haori adorned her figure. She stood level with Naruto and had a red ribbon holding her dark locks of hair in a high ponytail. The other girl was much shorter than the first 2, standing at a dismal 3 foot 7 inches. She had short white hair, cut into a pixie style, a bang falling to each side of the young girl's face, framing her delicate features and accenting her yellow eyes. Wrapped in civilian beige shorts and a white t-shirt. Naruto came up short looking at her blank expression. Something was different about this girl. He leaned forward a little, eyes taking everything about her, and spoke before his brain caught up with his words. Cat. 2 words. It took 2 words to set all 3 girls on edge. The Ravenet moved to take some kind of fighting stance, while the redhead stepped in front of the youngest girl. Breaking Naruto's line of sight and making him take a step back, he narrowed his eyes at the older girl's offensive stance. He felt Shukaku move closer to his side, a dark aura rolling of the boy in waves. He must be getting ready to fight. Naruto thought. Tension slowly built between both parties before a soft reply was heard from the white-haired girl. Fox. The older girls looked at their young friend, confusion written across their face. Naruto cast his eyes around, the street they were on seemed empty, and this girl seemed to know anyway, so maybe they could avoid a fight. What was life without a few chances? Naruto dropped the illusion hiding his features, shocking the Ravenet and redhead, as 9 fluffy tails stood behind him, waving lazily, and rounded ears stood atop his head. His whiskers becoming prominent on his face. He cast the 3 girls a grin, hoping to appear disarming. The 3 girls were spellbound. It was a 9 tails. But how? Why? What was he doing out of the shrine? The youngest girl stepped forward, a long white tail appearing behind her, with 2 cat ears taking place on top of her head. Naruto almost, squealed. Eyes can think stuff is adorable too. Naruto relaxed when the girl's animal features came out, so she was a yokai too. He felt Shukaku relax behind him as well. Good, no fight. Well hello there kitten-chan. Naruto greeted, his grin widening. Kitsune-sama the young girl bowed. Ah shit. Call me Naruto the young boy rubbed his head, quite embarrassed at the formal greeting, even more when the 2 girls behind her bowed as well. He hated formalities. Trying to end the awkward meeting as soon as possible, Naruto bowed back before asking for their names. I'm terribly sorry for our rudeness my lord. Spoke the redhead, finally finding her voice. My name is Rias Gremory, these are my friends and members of my peerage. The girl beside me is Akeno Himejima, my queen. The girl before you is Kaneko Taoju, my rook. The girl, Rias, finished formally. Don't worry about it this is my friend and traveling companion Shukaku. Naruto spoke awkwardly. Shukaku stepped beside him and waved, grinning madly. Hello. Shukaku is Shukaku, he is very pleased to meet friends of father. Naruto face-palmed at his friend's words. The trio before them gaining blank looks. Father. Yes, well then. Rias stumbled over her words. Probably better if she didn't ask. Naruto looked at the white-haired girl in front of him, her face was blank, but it looked like she wanted something. He couldn't quite put his finger on it well. He patted her head with a smile, one forming on the girl's face as well, albeit much smaller, barely there really. Behind her, the 2 girls were again stock still. Guess the little cat girl didn't smile much. He felt kinda bad about that, being serious all the time was bad for you. So, you said you were on your way to meet someone at a shrine nearby? Naruto asked his eye glancing back at the redhead, Rias. He really needed to start using her name. Yes my lord. My older brother is meeting with Lady Asaka-sama there. Rias spoke, she figured the 9 tails would know about this anyway. Well that's perfect. Shukaku and myself need to meet with Yasaka as well. Naruto claimed excitedly. Lunch far from his mind. Finally. Someone that knew where to go. Would you like to accompany us my lord? Rias asked, hoping he said yes. This would be a good opportunity to make friends in other factions and increase her own standing in the future. Plus the young lord looked pleased as punch to meet Kaneko. Not to mention Kaneko smiling. She'd known the girl for over 2 years now and had seen her smile maybe twice. Sure. Sounds good to me, Shukaku. Any objections? Naruto asked his raccoon friend. Shukaku just shook his head, grinning widely at his father asking his opinion. Something was really wrong with that poor boy, Naruto decided. Well please then, follow us. Rias spoke as her and Akeno started walking down the road once more, Kaneko following shortly after, casting a glance back at Naruto. Naruto looked at his friend for a moment, well that solves one problem. He said as he started after them, Shukaku quickly falling in behind him. Thank God for good karma. Naruto thought to himself. Scene break, karma fuck you. Naruto thought as a mass of blades pointed at himself and Shukaku. Everything had been going swimmingly, he had followed the girls for about 20 minutes, conversing with the girls and having a laugh. He thought his luck was really looking up. That is, until the little troop had arrived at the shrine. Upon entering the main courtyard, all manner of soldiers in old samurai armor had descended onto their position, separating the 2 parties and surrounding the boys. It had taken a lot of convincing to stop Shukaku from outright assaulting the incoming men. Now, they stood with well over 50 pikes pointed in their general direction, with archers on the wall behind them. If the situation wasn't so tense, Naruto may have taken a moment to appreciate the layout and look of the shrine. Easy, easy. We aren't here to fight. Naruto called quickly, trying his damnedest to appease their apparent captors. Iho's voice ringing in his head clearly. He really should have expected this, now that he thought of it. Stand down, all of you. A female voice called sharply, and immediately the order was followed, as the soldiers in the yard and atop the wall allowed the tension to leave their forms. Damn, talk about good timing. The wall of men in front of Naruto and Shukaku parted, allowing two people to walk forward. The first was a tall woman, her features making her seem young and regal, long flowing blonde hair spilled from her head. Her voluptuous figure was also adorned in Maiko attire, the familiar red and white highlighting her hair and eyes, which he noticed were a startling blonde color as well. Weird. Her eyes were scanning Naruto, looking for something. The man beside her was a bit more concerning in Naruto's opinion. He had long crimson hair, much like Rias. Maybe this is Rias' brother? Naruto thought as he continued eyeing the man. His blue-green eyes, cold and calculating. His shoulders were adorned by a set of combat pauldron, a deep gray with gold accents. This man exuded power. He was dangerous. Naruto took an unconscious step back and grabbed Shukaku by the forearm. They may have to turn and run. Who are you, boy? While phrased as a question, Naruto had no doubt it was an order from the man. The glare in his eyes spoke as much. My name is Naruto. Naruto spoke hesitantly, his grip slowly tightening on Shukaku's arm. This was getting bad quick. I came to seek an audience with the head of this shrine, Lady Yasaka-sama. He finished. He was caught for now anyway, might as well make his request known. And what do you seek of her? The woman spoke. Her gaze was much kinder, though still just as calculating. Answers. Came Naruto's reply, short and straight to the point. Though that's when everything went kind of pear-shaped. Not exactly in a bad way though. Little yas. Shukaku squealed, throwing his arms up and causing all those to tense and Naruto to pale. Oh god. They were dead. The blonde woman before them both paled and blushed at the same time. Somehow. The man beside her, while tense, did raise an eyebrow at the name. Don't call me that. The woman spoke shrilly, eyes closing and her hands balling into fists. She hadn't been called that in years. Who dare use that name besides Yasaka blanched. Now yas. I'm allowed to call you whatever I like, remember? That was our deal. Shukaku spoke with a laugh in his voice, for the first time, not sounding mad as a loon. Everyone looked between the two individuals, even Naruto. Though in the back of his mind he was waiting for the execution order. Uncle Shukaku? Yasaka asked, truly hesitant. She hadn't seen her uncle in close to 100 years. Though that name would always be a mark on her memory. God, she hated that name. The cloak boy dropped his hood, the raccoon ears standing tall on his head, but it was the eyes that sold it. Yup. That was Shukaku. Fuck. Yasaka's companion dropped all tension, it seemed the leader of Yakai knew this boy. Lady Yasaka, what's going on? The man spoke, voicing Naruto's own periling thoughts. The question broke Yasaka out of her stupor. Lord Lucifer, may I introduce you to my uncle and former teacher Lord Shukaku of the Sands. The embarrassment was clear on Yasaka's face. Why was he here now? Things were going so well. The now divined Lord Lucifer blanched, then paled. He had almost assaulted one of the Council of Nine. This was bad. Very bad. Very bad. This could cause a war between the devil and Yakai factions. He quickly dropped to his knees before the two boys before him. Fuck. Save face now. Please forgive me, my lord. I had no idea one such as yourself would be here today. The redhead spoke quickly. Naruto looked on blankly. What the fuck was happening? It was getting really weird now. Shukaku, what the fuck is going on? Naruto questioned. The others in the courtyard all turned to the blonde boy in shock. Oh, he was gonna die. You don't just demand oh nothing, father. I was just excited to see little Yas again and got carried away. Shukaku spoke happily. Naruto's sweat dropped. Okay, that answered one question but raised so many more. The cough drew everyone's attention. It was Lady Yasaka, a blush bright on her face. Before this devolves into an even bigger mess, perhaps we can retire to the meeting room and straighten this all out. Lord Surziches, please invite your sister and her peerage, as they may be able to shine some light on the situation. They did arrive with my uncle after all. She asked the man to her right. Hopefully they could sort this over tea. It would do her nerves good. Guards, please escort my uncle and young Naruto, was it? Here Yasaka looked to the boy for affirmation, which she received in the form of a nod. To the meeting room and have the maids bring us some tea and snacks. I feel we may be in for a long talk. With that Yasaka beckoned Surziches to follow her. Rias-chan, the man called, causing the young trio to appear through the crowd of soldiers. Lady Asaka, and I would be meeting you in the room she is having prepared in a moment. Please follow Lord Shukaku and the guards. And behave. Rias could tell something big was going on, so she just bowed and hurried after the two boys from earlier. She hoped she didn't mess things up bringing the two boys with her. Scene break. Naruto looked around the room in a small wonder. He didn't realize people could actually live in a shrine. As they had walked through the halls they had seen many wonderful works of art and old weapons and suits of armor. Paintings as tall as the ceiling were on proud display, showing pitched battles and moments of history. Now in this meeting room, one painting in particular caught his eye, if for no other reason than the fact that Shukaku was staring at it so intently. Walking up beside his companion, he took in the artwork. It depicted a regal woman, in battle attire, leading a group of 8 others, different symbols adorning their armor, but nothing else placing them apart. The woman's hands were glowing green, her face set in a beautiful scowl. She had long orange hair and brilliant blue eyes. Across from her and the 8 warriors was a mass of darkness, eating away at the other soldiers on the field and the earth. She's beautiful, Naruto mumbled. Yes, sister always was father's favorite. The voice broke Naruto out of his trance. He shook his head and looked over at Shukaku. He came up short on the question in his mouth. Shukaku looked sad. Sorrowful. He couldn't put his finger on it, but the look on his face was both happy and hollow. Shukaku slowly ran his fingers along the bottom of the painting, a sigh escaping his lips. A loud bang behind them caused all of the children in the room to jump. It seemed Surziches and Lady Asaka had arrived. Naruto quickly scrambled to his set, best not to look like he might damage a priceless work of art. The 2 members of high society took seats at the end of the table. Lady Asaka at the head, Surziches directly to her left. It was then Naruto saw a third figure, another woman. She was dressed in a European-made outfit. With silver hair and in matching eyes. She was stunning, Naruto decided. Uncle, would you care to join us? Naruto looked back to where Shukaku stood, his eyes still glued to the painting. He didn't move for a moment, and Naruto thought for a moment he hadn't heard her, before the reply, not now Yasaka-chan, I haven't been able to enjoy my sister's company for some time, you go ahead and start for now. Was heard from across the room. Very well then. Yasaka relented. She quickly turned to Naruto. As you may have deduced by now, I am Yasaka, leader of this shrine, and more importantly, here the illusion around the woman wavered, spilling 9 long golden tails and 2 pointed golden ears forth, I am the leader of the Yokai faction. You told me in the courtyard that your name is Naruto and you have come seeking answers, is that correct? Naruto nodded, quickly showing his own animal nature, as 9 tails and animal ears appeared on him, causing Yasaka and Surziches to gasp. Naruto groaned internally, this was gonna suck, he could already tell. Now where did you get those? Yasaka asked, her eyes narrowing. If he were any other animal she'd be less shocked. Or even if he only had less tails. The only other 9-tailed fox she knew of was her own daughter. She knew her daughter was safe, as that is what she checked on before coming to the room. I'm not sure, it's why I'm here. I grew up in an orphanage in Kuo. The matron there sent me here after it was attacked by men in black suits and some children were taken. Naruto spoke softly, his eyes lowering, remembering the friends he couldn't save. Do you speak of Matron Iho and the Kuo Trinity Orphanage? Surziches spoke up. He had heard of the incident from some associates and was amazed that this young boy wasn't one of the victims. More so that he didn't know who this boy was. The Gremory family had started that orphanage, and seeing as how close he was to the family, this kind of guest would have been a highly discussed topic. Naruto nodded, it shamed him to know that even this stranger was aware of his connection to the event, even if he didn't know the extent of it. How long have you been at that orphanage, Naruto-san? Surziches continued, he needed all the information he could get to save the missing children, but a being of such power as a 9-tails, going under his radar, was inexcusable on his part. My whole life. I turned 10 just last week on the 10th, sir. Naruto replied. He was all in now, might as well play his hand. Old Lady Iho told me she kept me hidden from everyone because I was a 9-tailed fox, which connected me to the royal family of the Yokai faction in some way. She sent me here to try and help me find answers when I got back to the orphanage after the attack. Do you know what happened to her? Naruto was scared to ask. He didn't want to lose the one family he may have had, even if it wasn't by blood. She's fine, young man. Some smoke inhalation and a few minor burns, but nothing that woman can't handle. Surziches tried to ease the boy's fears. Though she would have a lot to answer for now that he knew the truth about his lack of knowledge, yes, she did it for the boy's protection, but still lying to her superior is a big problem. Thank you, sir. I was so worried when I left and she wouldn't let me stay, and I just thought Naruto cut himself off, even thinking the words hurt. Well, that does answer a few things. Yasaka began. Iho-san is a crafty woman and always plays things very close to the vest. It is part of the reason I sent her to work for you, Lord Lucifer. I thought she would be trustworthy with information you held in confidence. She finished with a grin that spoke of all manner of smugness. Surziches laughed a little. Tricky old fox was Yasaka to a T. Though that still leaves who you are as another problem. I am an only child, and as far as I know my father didn't have any other siblings, and I only have one child. A curse of our line, I'm afraid. Yasaka carried on. This was puzzling, a rouge nine tails. It didn't make any sense with the information she had. A voice cut off her line of thought. That's because father is father. Shukaku spoke up as he approached the table. He came first, not after. That confused the group more. What did the boy mean? Haku, you've called me that a few times now, what do you mean? Naruto questioned, drawing all eyes to the two of them. Shukaku came from father. Father brought all of us here and now he has returned from his trip. Shukaku spoke as if it all made any kind of sense. Uncle, how can this boy be your father? You're older than me by a number of thousands, this boy is barely 10. It doesn't make sense. Yasaka rubbed her temples. Her uncle was always hard to understand. Little Yaz, do you remember the stories your grandmother used to tell you? Shukaku spoke, eyes firmly on Yasaka. Well yes, but she was as old as you, I always thought they were just that. Stories. Yasaka replied, the new information making her eyes shine in bewilderment. I'm sorry, but what stories? Surziches interrupted. This was making even less sense as the conversation dragged on. Back when I was my daughter's age, before the War of the Three Factions, my grandmother would tell me fantastic stories of great warriors and battles. She always spoke of her partner as a being of incredible skill and will. Never giving up and always trying to do what was right, damn the consequences, it always helped put me to sleep. Isaka spoke, her eyes gaining a critical look as she gazed at Naruto, making the boy uncomfortable. And Shukaku-sama thinks young Naruto is that partner. Surziches connected the dots, drawing a blank look from the children there. How did that make sense? Well, now that I look at him, besides the extra features, he does fit the description she gave me, and he does remind me of my father as well, in looks if nothing else. Yasaka spoke up, drawing more confused looks. What? Okay, maybe I should start all the way in the beginning. Yasaka said as she poured a glass of tea. Get comfortable, this may take a bit. Everyone grabbed a glass of tea and some cookies of the tray on the table. Please don't interrupt, this is a lot of information. With that Yasaka started. Okay, so the mythology of Yakai goes as follows. Ages ago, there were a band of warriors that traveled the world. They were mercenaries that looked to help people caught in war-torn areas, trying to protect those that couldn't protect themselves. Yasaka spoke, going into full story time mode. The 9 warriors were known as the Lonesome Madman Shukaku, a master sword and shield user and master of seal making. Matabi of the Twin Plains, a beautiful necromancer. Isobu of the Turtle Shield and Lance, a warrior poet. Son Goku, guardian of the 4 corners, a powerful mage that could bend the 5 elements to his will. Gukuo, the 5th horseman of the apocalypse, a master of mobile warfare and tactics. Seiken of the Poison Slime, a witch doctor with the ability to create the deadliest poisons and cure the wickedest of elements. Chimei, the mistress of luck, an extremely beautiful information specialist. Daiuki, the machine of war, a master soldier, skilled in every form of combat and creator of the 8 palms most yokai are taught in our army. And finally Kurama, the lady of 9 virtues, a medic, soothsayer and more importantly leader of this troop of soldiers. It was said that these 9 people could face the armies of hell without trouble. Yasaka stopped to take a drink of tea. After a day of hunting, the 9 warriors were traveling along a winding road, up a mountain path, on what is known as Mount Hiei today. Along the path they meet an old man blocking the route. The warriors stopped, weary of the old man before them. Calling out to them, the old man asked, "Why do you not approach?" Their reply was that caution is the better part of valor. This caused the old man to nod and laugh. He told them the path they were traveling led to his treasure and that he could let them go no further. 7 of the 9 looked curious as to what the treasure was. Kurama and Jayuki were debating on either turning back and finding a new path or forcing the old man to move, take his treasure and moving on. Kurama was for leaving the man be, but Jayuki wanted to see what the old man would risk his life against the strongest warriors in the world for. The old man, hearing Jayuki, laughed aloud. He challenged the band of warriors, saying if they could defeat him, he would gladly allow them his treasure. Even the virtuous Kurama could not let such an insult slide, one man defeating the 9 of them. Impossible. Isaka looked at her audience, seeing the girls with stars in their eyes at the story, Naruto completely enthralled, Surziches contemplative and Shukaku asleep. Of course. Shaking her head she continued. The battle was pitched, fierce, and entirely one-sided. The old man lay each warrior low, defeating them fully and without pause. The 9 warriors were stunned but humbled in their defeat. Even the prideful Jayuki could not refute the facts. Asking forgiveness for their hubris, the warriors sat as Kurama set forth healing them. The old man laughed once more before he started to apologize on his own. It seems I got a bit carried away. said the old man, sounding much more full of life after the battle. I have deceived you all, the old man continued as his visage faded into a younger man before the nine's eyes. I am not some simple old man, I am Rakide, god of Senjutsu. The now young man spoke, his hair aglow as the sun and eyes that matched the clear skies. Isaka paused to take a breath, stories always take so long, she lamented. Seeing this, the warriors bowed low to the ground, begging forgiveness for attacking a god such as he. Rakide was a kind god however, and waved off their pleas. Rise warriors, you have proven yourselves to me in combat, there is no need to bow. Spoke the god. I have watched you nine for some time now, this was my final test to you. The god continued. Kurama stepped forth, as leader of the troop, test my lord. Her friends and herself were lost onto the reason why. Yes, I have seen the work you have done in defending those without the ability to, and I have guided you to many challenges. This was my last one. I had no doubt you would prove me right. The god's grin could compete with the sun's brightness. I wish to make you nine my champions upon earth, to defend the people in this world from dark forces. The god told them. Shock became clear on each warrior's face. This kind of gift was unprecedented, and each warrior quickly agreed. Yusaka took another sip of tea. The god embedded part of his power in each warrior, combining them with an animal that closest fit their personality to allow them to become closer to nature, and a number of tails to divine their combat prowess. Urshukaku, a raccoon, and the power of control over the winds and sands of the earth in one tail. Watabi was gifted with the power to control fire and the likeness of a cat with two tails. Isobu was given control of water and a turtle shell in three tails. Son Goku was given control of earth and lava to shape the battlefield and combined with an ape bringing four tails. Fukuo learned the power of lightning magic and speed enhancement. He was given the likeness of a horse, 5 tails as his marker. Seiken was given the ability to produce powerful acids and cure most damages to one's body. He was combined with a slug and gifted with 6 tails. Demei was gifted with flight and the ability to use powerful illusions. She was made anew with a beetle and given 7 tails. Daiuki was given the power of making beasts of ink to do his biting on the battlefield. He was matched with a mighty bull, 8 tails standing along his back with pride. Lady Kurama came last, the god reserving his most powerful ability for the kind woman. He called it the creation of all things. The ability to breathe life into anything her mind can conjure. For her, old a fox seemed fitting, given her crafty nature. The god looked over his selected champions, a smile strong on his features, before looking out over the horizon of the valley below Mount High. This would be a beautiful place to die, would it not, my champions? Settle here. Make a home, invite the weak and sick, the old and young, the strong and all other manner of beings. Make this a place of peace and teach them to fight for one another and themselves, but never to force others into their ways. Protect yourselves and others and you will always have my blessing. As a last gift, I grant you enhanced vitality. Live long happy lives. I wait to great you in the pure lands. With that last word, the god vanished. Looking over the valley, the new yokai decided to do as their god asked and gave birth to the city of Kyoto. Yusaka finished. She looked at those around her as she whipped a tear from her eye. She loved that story, it brought back a lot of happy memories. Surziches was impressed, he had heard this myth before but never so beautifully told. Rias and Kaneko were in awe at the story, with Akeno having a pleasant little smile. Naruto was amazed and possibly thinking of praying to this new god he had learned of. He sounded like a god he could get behind. Shukaku, Yusaka saw, was still asleep. Really, uncle? Well, that is very enlightening, Yusaka-sama, I have never heard this tale so beautifully done. Surziches spoke. He must applaud the woman's storytelling abilities, maybe he should relay it to his own son. Thank you, Lord Lucifer, my grandmother told it to me as a little girl. Though that really is just a story. The truth of our being is much more complicated. Yusaka spoke hesitantly, this was a make-or-break moment for the peace between devil and yokai kind. The look on Surzich's face was one of pure confusion. You mean you know the truth about how yokai kind came about? I thought it would have been lost through the generations. Surziches spoke evenly, this was major news. Now that he thought about it, some names did correlate a little too well to be coincidence. Usually you'd be right, Surziches-sama, most other yokai live for only 100 years or so. The royal fox yokai are a bit different however. From the first 9 tales to myself, only 3 generations have passed. 4 if you include my daughter. This brought everyone up short. That was unheard of in a royal line. By definition their rule was still new. Only 3 generations. How was that even possible? You see, the truth of the matter is that's enough, Yusaka. Came a deep voice. Standing in the doorway was a tall man, easily over 6 feet. He had deep gray hair, glasses adorned his stoic features, over pure white eyes, under the right of which sat what looked like a tattoo of 2 bull horns in black. This was Jayuki, head of the Council of 9. The 8-tailed bull of battle. Lord Jayuki Yasaka spoke softly, honestly scared. Her uncle Jayuki was a harsh man. If he deemed the others a threat for what they had been about to learn, they were doomed. Before any tension could begin to build, however, a crash was heard as a chair hit the floor. All eyes turned to the chair beside Naruto, who blinked owlishly at the downed frame. Naruto's eyes glanced back at the door before going blank. The others followed his eyes, and a moment after, his example. There was Shukaku hanging off Jayuki's neck. "Brother. It's so good to see you again. Did you miss me? Huh? Did ya? Huh? I missed you. Look, father's back. See, I told you. I knew he would be back, but knew you and the others didn't want to listen. So, ha." Jayuki had a vein pulsing on his skull. Shukaku just hadn't been right after their last battle together, though no one really had. After a few deep breaths and prying Shukaku from his neck, Jayuki spoke once more. "Who are these people, Yasaka?" His old eyes took them each in one by one before they paused on the young blonde boy with whiskers and 9 tails. "This is Lord Surzich's Lucifer, king of hell and leader of the devil faction. To his right are Rias Gremory, his little sister, and 2 members of her peerage, Akeno Himejima and Kaneko Taoju. Queen and Rook respectively." Yasaka informed quickly. At least Uncle Jayuki seemed in a better mood now that he knew Shukaku was here. "And who is the boy?" Jayuki's eyes hadn't left Naruto's form since they found him. It was making Naruto look around for an exit. The resemblance was uncanny. No wonder the loon Shukaku thought he was that man. "This is Naruto. He came with Uncle Shukaku, looking for answers about his existence. He is from the Trinity Orphanage in Kuo, run by Iho-san." Yasaka spoke. Maybe Uncle Jayuki could shed some light as well, he was as old as Kyoto after all. "Boy, come here." Jayuki called, the cane in his hand tapping the ground once. The boy hesitated at first, before moving from his set and standing in front of the council of 9 member. Nervous was a word that filled the boy's stance, ready was there as well. Jayuki took a few steps around him, taking in his entire form. This just increased the lad's nervousness and readiness. Ah, so he would fight if need be. "Tell me, boy, what is important to you?" Jayuki spoke as he crouched to eye level with the young kitsune. He may look like that man, but let's see if he had the same resolve. My friends, my lord, the men, old lady Iho Shukaku is pretty important to me too." Naruto spoke with a weaver in his voice. "And if I were to order them all killed?" Jayuki spoke harshly, no nonsense in his tone, his eyes glancing over the boy's shoulder and pinning the 2 leaders in place, halting any protests. When he looked back in the boy's eyes, he was surprised. The nervous boy from before was gone, all that was left was steel. Steel and determination. The defiance in the boy's eyes were a nice touch as well. "Then you had better dispatch me first, you old bastard," Naruto said through gritted teeth. A boy of few, but strong, words. It was silent for a moment. Surziches and Yasaka were expecting the boy to be dead the moment they opened their eyes, something they had closed in resignation as soon as Jayuki spoke his question and looked at them. They expected the girls to scream as a body slumped to the floor, blood pooling around it. They didn't expect laughter. Jayuki blanched after the boy spoke. "Yeah, same resolve." The laughter from Shukaku didn't help either. "He told you nicen. Hahaha, you shouldn't mess with father's friends, hahaha." Shukaku said as he rolled on the floor, laughter leaving him like blood leaves a wound. A swift smack was Shukaku's reply. "Oh, shut up, you crazy raccoon. He isn't our father." Jayuki shouted at the crumbled yokai. He loved doing that. With a sigh, he turned back to the boy. The child was curious now, but still wary. "Calm down, boy, I'm not going to hurt you or your friends." Jayuki spoke with a wave of the hand. "What about old lady Iho?" Naruto said, still ready and willing to fight if need be. Yes, her too." "I was testing you, brat," Jayuki said, rolling his eyes. "Young upstarts these days. I wanted to see if you had the same resolve as the one you remind me of." "Fair enough to say, you do. Which may answer a few questions me and the other council of 9 members have wondered for years." Jayuki approached the table with a stiff limp, his cane clacking along the way. Sit down you two, it's time for some truths." His deep voice called after he sat at the far end of the table. "Isaka-chan, I believe you were about to tell them the truth of the creation of yokai." Jayuki spoke calmly, his tone far kinder than when he had entered, pouring himself a drink from the flask in his kimono. He was gonna need to be really drunk for this conversation, and nothing beats good vodka imported from Russia. As the 2 boys, Will Boy and one seeming immortal, sat down, Yasaka spoke again. "Ah, if you're sure, Lord Naiban Ba, don't call me that made-up last name if we're gonna be telling the truth." Jayuki grumbled, swigging another drink from his flask. "Right, uncle?" Yasaka smiled slightly. He may drink a lot, but she did love her uncle. "Right, as I was saying, the royal family has only had 3 generations. Yokai actually came about from a great battle, but not in the way you think. See, a few thousand years ago, a man holding 9-tailed beast in his spirit was fighting a great goddess. They were cast from their original world and into the dimensional gap. As the final blow was struck and the god defeated, the man fell into this world mortally wounded. Yusaka paused, she could see the gears turning in Surzich's head as confusion mounted on Naruto's. The girls were once more in awe of what they were being told. But the last of his strength, the man used a few of his powers in combination and set the spirits of the 9 beasts free, creating the first yokai. The 9 warriors from the myth and current council of 9. The only one not being around anymore would be Kurama-sama, my grandmother. She perished during the war between heaven, fallen angels, and devils, helping the biblical god seal the Trihexa, a beast of cataclysm that sought to end the world during the conflict. My grandmother died from her wounds. Yusaka spoke solemnly at the end, casting her eyes to the painting Naruto had looked at earlier. Daisuke hung his head and sipped at his vodka, while shadows covered Shukaku's eyes. They hated being reminded of this part of their lives. It would always be a dark spot on their souls. Naruto looked at the two and grasped Shukaku's shoulder in a sign of solidarity, he wouldn't let his friend suffer alone. That's incredible. Surzicha spoke lowly. But how does that explain such a short royal line? He continued, he could read the mood, but this information was game-changing. He needed the truth. This could lead the yokai and devil factions to a peace never seen before. A deep sigh was heard from Daisuke as all eyes turned to him. When the man that held us lay dying, he had to work fast. He didn't just breathe life into new bodies for us, he legitimately remade us. We were no longer tailed beasts. We were in effect part human. We ever received portions of his powers, along with ones we had before. He wasn't perfect though. He was just a man, dying and in a rush. As you can see from Shukaku and myself, we weren't all made the same. Shukaku was made a young boy, me an old man. Kurama, well he was turned into a woman and given our creator's abilities on a much larger scale. She also gained his heart, the way he felt emotions. In the 20 seconds of being reborn, Kurama fell in love with a man that had held her prisoner for 17 years. It took Matabi-chan and Goku-kun days to convince her to bury the body. She didn't stop crying the whole time. He took a heavy swig of vodka. After she finally calmed down, weeks later, we set out on making the area around his grave our home. Soon enough people started showing up, some to kill the foul new beasts, Daisuke spit that term out like it were acid, and some to just settle down. He got quiet after that. It was One-E-chan that convinced us to allow these people in. Help them build a village and place to live. She had changed since father's death, hurt, but looking on the brighter side of things whenever possible. Shukaku spoke up, she said, our father would help the people that needed it. That we should do it since he couldn't anymore. When we heard of the war taking place in the supernatural world, she was the first to jump to the aid of those that needed it. Deserters, drifters, those broken and without a way home, she took them all in and tried to help them. With father's creation of all things, she could heal even the most gravest of wounds. As she became more adapted using it, she unlocked strong and stronger uses for it. Eventually Shukaku trailed off, tears shining in his eyes at recounting the wonderful person Kurama had become, dragging them kicking and screaming along with her. Emotions really sucked. She learned to create life. The voice shocked everyone. Naruto had pieced it together. The shock clear on his own face. Got it in one kid. Daisuke relented. Nodding his head toward the blonde. When she found out what she could do, she was shocked as well. It no small thing, holding the key to life in one's hands. Daisuke carried on. See, that ties into everything. The rest of us had already learned we could become parents naturally, have taken a number of partners to bed over the passing decades, leading to many of the other yokai now running around. Kurama was the only one to remain untouched. She couldn't bring herself to love another man or allow one close enough to lead to procreation. So she made a child with creation of all things. It was a vain and selfish thing she did, but we didn't stop her. She had earned this gift, it was hers to use as she saw fit. Daisuke took another swig of his flask, leaning back into his chair. The boy One-E-chan made was like our father in every way but power, though he was far from weak. Strong-willed, kind, compassionate, and fierce in battle. We all adored him. He was of us, you see. A pure yokai, like his mother before him. We found out that father's creation of all things would pass down like that if the children were made in the same way. Little Kunu-chan is the first 9-tailed fox yokai born of 2 actual parents. Shukaku picked up. Looking at Yusaka with a hint of compassion, he knew this was a sore subject for her. My father took over as leader of the yokai faction after grandmother died, and a few hundred I took the mantle from him, as he died in battle against a group of Rouge fallen angel and exorcists. I have the ability to use creation of all things, but nowhere near the scale of my grandmother and father. I fear I never will now that little Kunu is here. Yusaka spoke, her hands tied at the mention of her daughter's circumstances of birth. How she hated Kunu's father. But where do I fall into all this? Naruto chimed in, confused as all hell. All this information was so much. Too much. For someone so young. The trio of girls he met earlier were just as confused. It was Surzich's that broke the barrier for them to understand. You shouldn't exist, Naruto-san. The way Surziches said it was so cold. So final. Far more cruel than he meant it to be. You are an anomaly. Something that shouldn't be, but here you are. There are no other nine-tailed foxes. No one for you to claim as parents. For all intents and purposes you just appeared. He finished, eyes boring into the boy, watching as the lad's world slowly came undone around him. But that who would that can't Naruto couldn't form any sentences. He looked at those around him that might know and was shocked to find they couldn't meet his eyes. It was the truth. Naruto was an unknown to all of them. Jayuki and Yusaka held sorrowful grimaces, they knew this couldn't be easy on the boy, and Surziches just looked on, emotionless. The loud clatter was heard as the chair Naruto had been occupied fell to the floor, the boy running out the large doors that lead to the room. No one moved to follow him, the younger girls all stunned at the revelation, and the adults all stuck in their own thoughts. You didn't need to be so cold about it, brat. Jayuki spoke to Surziches, he had wanted to ease the boy into it, especially if what he thought was true. He is just a kid. Surziches hung his head in shame, he knew he had been far more harsh than he meant to, but this was huge. And nine tails with no ties could shift the balance of power in their world forever. I'm sorry my lords and lady, I spoke too soon. He hung his head, this was usually when Grafia would smack him, but she had left before Jayuki even showed up to make some supper for the children. Yusaka sighed. Today was a really rough day for everyone. This had been a closely guarded secret from everyone. Only the current leader of Yakai, their child, and the Council of Nine were privy to this information. My lord. A soft voice spoke up, drawing eyes to the young white-haired cat Yakai. If I may be excused to find Naruto, I can't say I know what he's going through, but I do know what it means to be lost. Her voice was blank of emotion, but the elders in the room could see the unshed tears in her eyes, it made Surziches wonder, as he nodded his assent. The young girl ran out of the room at a sprint. Why did you let her go? Yusaka spoke, confused, how could one so young even hope to help? That was Kaneko Taoju, my dear sister's rook. You may know her as Shirin, younger sister to the infamous criminal Kuroka and last surviving member of the Nekashu massacre. That is what brought me here in the first place. I had hoped we could talk over the punishments to be handed down to the devils involved in the incident, but now, I can see that is far from the most important matter. Surziches leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face with both hands. Today had been a long day. When he moved his hands, a glass filled with clear liquid sat before him. Turning, he saw one before Shukaku and Yusaka as well. Jayuki was filling a glass of his own. It has been a rather long day, I say we settle this here. Kill the devils, construct a law protecting other Yakai and territories under your rule, then we sign a peace treaty. Jayuki's voice filled the room, all eyes on him. After young Kaneko-chan gets back with Naruto-san, we will decide on how to handle his situation. For now, we could all use a drink. But that said, Jayuki raised his glass and toast before knocking it back. Here, were his only replies. Scene breakan. You guys have no idea how bad I wanted to cliff this right here. Naruto ran hard. He ran as fast and far as he could, he wanted to get away. Needed to get away. He didn't stop until his legs screamed and his lungs grew weak. He screamed as he fell to the ground, tears of frustration and confusion falling down his face. He threw a fist into the unforgiving earth. Then again, and once more. It didn't make sense, damn it. People don't just appear. What was going on? The words from the King of Hell kept playing through his head. Shouldn't exist. Was that what he was? A mistake. Hurling his knees to his chest, Naruto cried, hot bitter tears. That's it. He was a mistake. An anomaly. Something inherently wrong. Sobs racked his small form as he sat under the evening light, a tree at his back. He had made it out to the far garden of the shrine before he broke down. He never heard the small figure approaching him. Hey, Mr. Hay. A small voice called to him, dragging his face from his legs. It was a girl. A little girl of about 6. She had 9 fluffy tails and 2 golden ears on her head, her eyes the same gold as Yusaka, though her face was much rounder. Her gold hair was tied in a short ponytail, and like the older fox before her, she wore a small Maiko outfit. Did everyone have one of those? Are you okay, mister? Mama says when people cry it's cause they're hurt and being hurt is bad. Are you hurt? I'm not good at healing, but Mama is, maybe she can heal you. I think she's in meeting right now, but she usually doesn't get too mad when I go in. And if it's to help someone she won't be mad at all. The girl rambled on, well, she was excitable, Naruto had to give her that. Is your name Kunu? Naruto asked as he whipped his cheeks and eyes. Wouldn't you to see a boy cry in front of a little girl? The girl's eyes sparkled. Whoa. How did you do that? Are you magic? Can you read minds? Can you teach me? The little girl bounced up and down, the sleeves to Hiheori waving about as she happily asked question after question. Naruto chuckled, this is why he helped with the other kids at the orphanage, always so chipper and amazed. Think about his time at the orphanage immediately soured his mood. Something the little girl noticed with ease. "Mister, are you okay?" she asked as she stepped closer and reached for one of his hands. Naruto took a quick step back, fear racing through him. Why was he afraid? The girl looked him over once more before her eyes widened in shock. Ears. Tails. Kunu thought in wonder. He had ears and tails like her and Mama. He only looked a little older than her, so in her mind there was only one possible conclusion. Nice-an. It took all of 3 seconds for Naruto to realize what happened as he looked at the sky. Wasn't he just standing? You see, Kunu had been raised her whole life as an only child, with never much time to play with other children, and all she had ever wanted was a brother or sister to spend time with. Seeing someone she had never met before that looked so much like her mother, well, an animal can tell when one of its own is nearby. Naruto looked down at the girl hugging his chest in pure confusion. She was so small, how did she knock him off his feet? He awkwardly patted the chatting girl on the head as she rambled about brothers and games and Mama telling fibs. That's when Naruto caught on to what she was saying. She thought he was her lost brother, finally coming home. On one hand, Naruto was kinda touched that this little girl would care for such a complete stranger warmed his heart, on the other, he was also worried that could be dangerous for the little girl as well. Naruto sat up from the dirt. "Kunu-chan, why are you out here all alone? It's almost dark out." He asked, "Shouldn't the next head of yokai have a keeper or bodyguard? Something?" I snicked away from old man Yatsunum. "I like being in the garden as the sunsets cause the flowers are super pretty." Kunu replied cheekily, "Take that, old man. Making her do stupid chores all day. That's not safe, Kunu. What if someone took you or hurt you? Wouldn't Mama be upset?" Naruto felt weird calling Yasaka that, but it would help make a point to the little girl. "Yeah, I guess." The young girl looked down, "But big brother is here now. So he'll fight all the meanies and protect me." The little girl nodded, grinning brightly at the older blonde. Well, it wasn't a lie, Naruto would protect her, but not because he was her perceived brother. Who would protect a little kid? "Nai-chan, why were you crying earlier?" Kunu spoke softly. Naruto sighed, this was the hard part. "I got some upsetting news. I just needed to clear my head a bit, but there is something you need to know." He braced himself, this would suck. "Kunu-chan, I'm not your brother. I'm not anyone's brother. I may have ears and tails like you, but I shouldn't actually be here." He spoke lowly, trying to ease the girl into the truth. "As far as everyone else is concerned, I'm a mistake." He looked away from the young charge. The words stung him even more now, coming from his own mouth. Silence engulfed the garden. "That's dumb," was the reply. Making Naruto snap his head back to the girl with wide eyes. "Mama says that anyone with ears and tails are family. That everyone is important and here for a reason. There are no mistakes." Kunu spoke, nodding her head sagely, for all the wisdom a 6-year-old could have. Naruto looked at the girl, really looked at her. He couldn't see any judgment. No uncertainty. As far as this girl cared, he was family. He was her big brother. The grin that spread across his face was as bright as the sun, soon matched by Kunu as she saw what her words had done. Naruto quickly hugged the girl while laughing, causing her to laugh alongside him. Hineko arrived in the garden a few minutes later. She saw a young blonde girl chasing our hero around the grass, shouting about catching him and making him it. That must be Lady Kunu, Yasaka's daughter. Kaneko had to smile, it was a very touching scene. "Naruto-san." She called out, causing the blonde boy a moment of distraction, which little Kunu capitalized on. One mess of limbs, a duo of ow. And a single cloud of dust later, Kaneko's sweat dropped. She hadn't meant to do that. Hey Kaneko-chan, what's up?" Came Naruto's strained voice. "His ribs hurts. A lot. Lord Lucifer sent me to find you and make sure you're okay." Kaneko spoke in a monotone, even as she grinned as the two blondes untangled themselves and stood up, brushing the dirt and grass from their clothes. Thanks for worrying." Naruto was unsure. Not many people worried about him, so this was still kinda outside his realm of familiarity. He walked toward Kaneko, or planned to, but a tug on his hand halted his advance. He cast his eyes behind him to see Kunu grasping his sleeve, her eyes gazing at Kaneko uncertainly. Naruto turned around and knelt before the little girl. "Hey, it's okay Kunu-chan, this is a friend of mine. Her name is Kaneko-chan, she's going to accompany us back to your mom, okay?" Naruto spoke with a soft smile, his free hand ruffling Kunu's hair lightly. Can I hold your hand?" Kunu replied softly, looking down as her feet played in the dirt. Naruto's smile widened. "Of course you can, Emoto-chan." Hineko watched as the little girl's eyes widened, a massive smile and small blush on her face at the familial title. It was kinda cute, seeing the way the girl chattered animatedly to the older blonde. He was really good with kids, Kaneko decided. "Okay Kaneko-chan, I'm ready to go. Lead the way." Naruto said as he approached the girl with snow-colored hair. His grin was only slightly hollow, he was still dreading hearing any more from the adults gathered in that meeting room. Scene change. Naruto, Kaneko and Kunu arrived outside the meeting room in just a few minutes. Naruto hadn't run very far off. Naruto stood before the closed meeting room doors, trepidation thick in his stance as he prepared to knock. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. The small squeeze of his hand from Kunu helped, but still this was no easy thing to face. Deciding to just get it over with like one removes a band-aid, Naruto knocked on the door and opened it slowly. All heads turned at the sounds, and all eyes took in the three now in the doorway. "Welcome back Naruto-san, Kaneko-chan, who is this with you?" Surzicha spoke, trying to sound kind. The last thing he needed was to make the boy upset again. "Hello. I'm Kunu. This is my big brother." The little girl shout, all eyes immediately focused in on Naruto, most in confusion, two in amusement. "Kunu dear, I told you, you don't have a brother," Yasaka spoke, hopeful to nip this in the bud before it became too much of a hassle. "This boy might not even be able to stay here for goodness sake. But he has ears like mama and tails like mama, so that means he is a yakai, so that means has family." The little girl spoke with finality, nodding her head before her eyes landed on Jayuki. "Grandpa." Kunu was immediately at the old bull's side. Trying to climb into his lap, she hadn't seen Grandpa in ages. "Aha, she told you there Yasaka-chan." Jayuki chuckled as he helped the young kitsune into his lap. Kunu always was an affectionate one. "Kunu, there is someone here I would like you to meet." Jayuki said. He pointed to Shukaku. "This is my brother Shukaku, he is your great-grandmother's little brother as well." Stars were a weak candle compared to the little girl's eyes. She had more family. Shukaku had gone missing some time after Yasaka's father passing on, so he had never had the chance to meet Kunu. He moved from his seat to stand beside Jayuki's chair, kneeling and getting eye level with the girl. "Hello, Shukaku is Shukaku, I am very happy to meet my family." His tone was soft, along with a smile on his face. Well, that is until the little girl hit him like a train in a tackle, her arms around his neck hugging the life out of him. "Grandpa? If he is as old as you, why does he look the same age as Nai-chan?" Kunu shouted over her arms as she hugged her new family. "It's magic Kunu-chan," came the reply. No need to confuse the poor girl more. Anyway, on to more pressing matters, Naruto. Jayuki waved a hand, beckoning the boy forth. "What is it you want to do from here? You have no ties and own allegiance to no faction. Any would be happy to accept you." Isaka wanted to speak up, really she did, but her uncle would tan her hit if she interrupted. Kunu seemed really taken with this boy, she didn't want to just send him off. She knew the pecking order though, even she had to answer to the Council of Nine. "Well Jayuki-sama, I'm not sure. I still don't know anything about where I come from, and it's not like I can stay here," Naruto spoke quietly. He liked Kyoto and Kunu, but even he could see what trouble would come from having a random nine-tail appear. And why not? Yasaka spoke quickly, a plan forming in her mind. "What if you could stay here?" She shot Jayuki a pleading look, begging him to let her make her point. The old bull huffed, but did nothing else. "Well, I'd love to stay. I can learn more about yakai here than anywhere else, right? It would give me a space to train, I could hang out with Kunu, and I could still see Shukaku." Naruto said, "But how could I? Couldn't this lead to trouble for you Yasaka-sama?" He finished, scratching his head. "Indeed it could. All manner of rumors could surround Yasaka-chan, which may lead to infighting in our faction, maybe even revolution as other yakai see her position as ruler weak. They may try to convince Naruto to take rule and treat him like a puppet king." Jayuki spoke. He knew what Yasaka wanted to do, but was she willing to actually say it? "He can take a place on the Council of Nine." The words brought silence to the chamber. Jayuki grunted in affirmation, knowing the whole time. "But Yasaka-sama, isn't that place reserved for a member of the royal family?" Surzicha interjected. He didn't want to make waves, but this was unprecedented. An unknown given such a high seat of power. Isaka looked at Surzicha, she knew he meant well, but this was the only way for things to go the way she wanted. She'd never hear the end of it if Kunu's new Nai-chan was forced to leave. That is true, but as far as we know, Naruto may very well be a pure yakai. The seat was left open after my grandmother passed, my father believing it too much power for one person to hold. The Council of Nine was to temper the leader of yakai, not be swayed by them. If Naruto took the seat after being trained, Kunu could still become ruler with little a fuss made. And who would train him? Jayuki spoke, his eyes demanding she show her resolve. Where was the strong girl he watched grow up? Make him believe in this boy. "I will if need be. I'll have the best tutors train him. I'll make him my assistant to watch the daily going-ons of our people if need be. I will make him the best damned councilman and warrior ever." There was a fire in Yasaka's eyes as she spoke. The Council of Nine were the 9 strongest yakai, being both a fighting force when things got fucked up beyond belief and a place the leader and lower councils of yakai could come to settle a matter of internal politics. They were the top of the top in all things internally handled. Though their use was limited at the worst of times, simply because there wasn't a real need, they helped train and teach the leader of yokai for a reason. Naruto was stock still. Yusaka-sama. I can't accept such an honor. I'm no one, and I come from nothing. This is way too much. I'm only 10. He looked ready to bolt after his triad. Let it be known 10-year-olds do not handle mass amounts of pressure well. But you won't be forever. Jayuki intoned. He was sold. This boy was bound to be part of great things. It reminded him of the stories Kurama once told as well. A boy that came from nothing to being a linchpin of peace. Oh, he would definitely help this boy. Myself and the rest of the council shall help mold you. By the time you take up your place on the council, you will be more than ready. The grin on Jayuki's face was shared by Shikaku, Kunu, and Yusaka. Surzich's and his sister's group watched on stunned. They were watching history in the making. This would send ripples through the underworld. I for one think it's a marvelous idea. Surzich's spoke, drawing eyes to his form. This will mean no one has the right to question Kunu when she rises to power, Naruto receives his purpose in life, and the yokai faction have 2 powerful members to settle matters in the future. Oh yes, this was a great idea. With 2 nine-tailed foxes, no one would threaten the yokai, which meant he could better deal with the unrest in his own faction if the yokai turned into devils. It was perfect. Well Naruto, what do you say? Yusaka asked the boy calmly. She would convince him if need be, but it's polite to ask. Naruto looked around the room, seeing the approving faces of everyone in there. What tort was the hope in Kunu's? How could he turn away from his Emoto-chan? With a sigh, he slumped his shoulders. Fine. I'll do it. But you have to promise me something. Naruto said quickly. If he was gonna be coerced, he may as well as get something out of it. Name it. Spoke the Kitsune ruler. I want you Lord Lucifer to help find my friends from Trinity, they have been missing for a week now and it didn't sit right with me leaving and Grandma Iho can't be punished for not telling anyone about me. Naruto knew where his priorities were. Family and friends first, everything else after. Done. Spoke Surzich's quickly. He could make all of that happen, no reason to tell the boy he had planned to anyway, he like Iho, she always gave Rias a hard time when they stopped by. I may call on you in the future for a favor young lord. Things are happening in my faction I am not a fan of. Surzich's spoke as he rose from his chair, his sister and peerage following, meeting Kaneko by the door. Yeah, came the boy's reply. Like he said everything else later. It had been a really long day, Yusaka decided as she sat, overlooking the moonlight city of Kyoto. She hadn't been this mentally and emotionally drained in years. Right now, she was seated on the balcony attached to her room, a long flowing night groan grasping at her form, accenting the curves that was her body. A soft knocking drew her attention to the door of her room, and with a quick enter. Her grand uncle was striding across her room, the soft tapping of his cane, announcing his approach with each step. Quite the day we've had, isn't it? Jayuki's deep baritone voice resounded softly. He had a bottle in his free hand, 2 glasses grasped between his fingers and the bottle itself. Where he got his taste for vodka, Yusaka would never understand. You can say that again, was Yusaka's dry response. Are we doing the right thing? Her heart was weighed down by guilt. They were placing a lot of pressure on a child, one that had no real investment in the politics of their faction, other than 9 furry appendages. Jayuki took a seat, this conversation is why he brought the vodka. He was silent as he poured 2 glasses and handed one to Yusaka. He raised his glass to the moon, a motion Kurama's granddaughter mimicked. I think you are asking the wrong question Yusaka-chan. Jayuki finally responded. We're in the wrong no matter how you cut the situation, and asking moral questions based on something you know is inherently wrong is just foolish. He cast his eyes to Yusaka's form, noticing the slight slump in her shoulders. She needed the truth, not some half-assed story to make her feel better. So what should I be asking then? Yusaka said, her eyes staring at the rim of her now half-empty glass. She knew what kind of man her uncle was. He didn't muck about with half-truths and moral obligation. He'd been alive too long for that. He saw the situation and molded it as much as he safely could. He may play things close to the vest, but he was a realist like that. What are you going to teach Naruto boy first? Jayuki said, a small grin on his face. He hated the way he had to be. He also understood that it had to be done. Not only were they placing a lot of pressure on Kunu's new Nichan, they were also placing a lot of faith and power. The Council of 9 had been around for as long as yokai existed. Kurama and him had seen to its formation with the other originals, and he had kept it going, even as his other siblings moved to other places in the world. This was the first time he had seen one of them in person for over 100 years. They could still communicate with each other, for some reason the pocket dimension in each Bijuu's mindscape still existed. They could meet whenever they needed, not that there was really much reason to. Yusaka was a fine ruler, and the people loved her. No need for crusty old men to ruin that. Yusaka glanced at her uncle, confusion on her face, as a snorted chuckle escaped his lips. What? She questioned. It wasn't often Uncle Jayuki cracked a grin for no reason. Nothing, I just had a funny thought that would probably have lead your Aunt Matabi to skinning me alive if she had heard it. She has always been sensitive about her age and looks. Jayuki let a light chuckle out as he explained. Maybe he should call a council meeting. Seeing those striking blue eyes and blonde hair had left him feeling something. It was like a dull ache in his heart. He missed his family, he realized belatedly. Something about that boy just called to him. I'm glad Uncle Shukaku came back. I haven't seen him in so long, I almost forgot how crazy he is. Haha. The laugh that left Yusaka's lips was only a little forced. Shukaku was always her favorite. With his weird way of speaking and goofy personality, it wasn't hard for her to love him as a child, and while it could be embarrassing, she wouldn't have it any other way. You and me both. I haven't had Shukaku brand crazy in a long time. Jayuki rolled his eyes. He loved his brother to death, like all his siblings, no matter how crazy he was. Shukaku had taken the worst of the last few losses they had suffered. After Kurama passed, things just weren't the same for the former Biju. It probably hadn't helped that Shukaku was the one to find her body. The smile and tears on the old raccoon's face had always made him question what really happened. It was like he reverted to when the Sage of Six Paths had first made them. All the power of the wind in the heart and mind of a child. Did I ever tell you about the time Shukaku got stabbed in the ass with a gardening tool? He had timed it perfectly, the vodka landing on the rich oak wood of the balcony, freshly spit from Yusaka's mouth as she looked at him wide-eyed. Jayuki roared in laughter. Yeah. It was time for a council meeting. Scene change. Naruto lay in his bed, sleep was the last thing on his mind. Clad in sleeping shorts and a bed far too large for one person, he just stared at the ceiling, the slow passing of the moon his only company. He grasped at a new piece of attire around his neck. It was a green shard. 2 prayer beads sat on either side, all held together by a decorative piece of string. Jayuki had gifted it to him upon his agreeing of taking a place on the Council of 9 in a number of years. Something about tradition of some such nonsense. It had been a fucked up day. Between meeting the pretty trio, as he now dubbed them, it was a whirlwind of clusterfucks and what the shit. A deep sigh left Naruto's form. If he had known this would be the result, would he still have come here? Being groomed for a real position of power. He still couldn't wrap his head around it. A large part of him said yes. Shukaku was a loyal friend. Yeah, friend. No way am I gonna act like his dad. Naruto thought. They had been through a lot in the week it took them to reach Kyoto, thick as thieves, they were. Naruto blanched. Considering how much they stole. The quiet creak of his door pulled Naruto from his lamentation, his eyes narrowed at the darkened hallway before a small form made itself known. Big brother, a soft voice drifted across the room. Who knew? Naruto relaxed visibly, pulling himself into a seated position. He looked the young girl over. How could anyone sleep in such frilly pajamas? Yeah, Kunu, I'm here. Naruto responded, scooting to the end of the bed as Kunu walked further into the room. It was late, the girl really should be asleep. I had a bad dream, Kunu said, shame filling her voice and pulling at Naruto's heartstrings. He knew that feeling. He used to climb into bed with Iho when he was younger and nightmares decided to visit. She must want someone to comfort her. Though why did she come to him instead of Yusaka? Naruto looked at her, she had her hands clasped in front of her eyes were glued to the floor, refusing to take in Naruto's. She was ashamed of having to come to her big brother for something so trivial. Kunu couldn't be blamed. Even though she had a mother, she was still a lonely little girl. Her mom worked a lot, she might even be working right now, and as Yusaka's heir, Kunu understood the importance of her mother's work, even at the ripe old age of 6. She had dreamed that big brother wasn't there anymore. It gripped her heart in fear. Some would question why she was so attached to the newcomer blonde. It would be a fair question, because even she didn't understand it. She just knew she wanted to be around him. When she found him in the garden, knees to his chest and sobs cutting through his form, it just seemed wrong. Now here she was, in the older blonde's room. Waiting for something. She needed some kind of reassurance, some validation that her fears weren't warranted. She stepped a few feet forward. Naruto rose from his bed. He wasn't an expert but who knew tensed as Naruto wrapped his arms around her smaller from. She melted in an instant after. So much warmth and caring. Kunu was a lonely girl, this was the third person in the world to hug her. I'm Hiramoto-chan. I'm not going to leave you. His voice was soft and he didn't know why it made Kunu shudder. There was no way of knowing exactly what her dream entailed and that his words caused relief to flood the poor girl like a broken dam, filling a valley. Kunu gripped the ends of her sleeping shirt before she tightly wrapped her arms around Naruto's waist, tears leaking from the corners of her eyes. Bitter tears of joy at the words that drifted through the night like a specter. And can I stay with you just for tonight? Naruto heard her, even with how low the words were. He wouldn't have denied the girl even if he wanted to. He knew what it was like, needing someone to lean on. Someone to hug you and tell you it would all be okay, that shit wasn't as horrible as it really was. Eddie Tonic being someone's line of support when they were at their weakest. Come on, you need some sleep. He guided Kunu to the bed, one arm draped over her shoulders. He made sure to tuck her in before he stood and went to the dresser. If Kunu was gonna sleep in bed with him, he needed a shirt. As Naruto lay back down, Kunu scooted closer to him, basking in the warmth he exuded. It was then Naruto decided he had made the right choice. Training would be a pain, politics would be annoying, and he may have to put his life on the line, but in that moment, it didn't matter. He was a brother now. If it meant he had to storm the gates of heaven and hell just to make that smile that split Kunu's face appear again, he would do it. He had been background noise. He had been a friend. He had been a playmate. This was a whole other ballpark, and after Surzich's words, this was something he needed just as much. He may not have had a family, but now he was a brother. He never noticed the grin that painted his face as he fell asleep. Scene change. The sun was like an unholy god of war, battling Naruto's slumber for rule. The blonde bit back a growl, stupid sun, and stupid waking up. Someone blow up the sun. Maybe he could ask Yusaka to do it. She seemed powerful. Naruto rubbed the sleep from his eyes. It was early, he realized, and something was missing from his room. He looked around. Desk, chair, dresser, TV, bed, no, everything seemed in order. Kunu. Naruto took in his room once more, far more awake now, though still half out of it. The right side of his bed was a little messy, she must have woken up for the day already, he decided. Well, he was too awake to go back to bed now, might as well get ready for the day. Naruto scratched his head as he moved to his dresser, he hated waking up. Mornings just weren't his thing. Old Lady Iho always gave him shit about not making it to classes in time. He lived like 2 sets of stairs above where the orphanage held classes, how could he be late? Thinking about the place he grew up brought a furrow to Naruto's brow. He should probably see about sending Iho a letter of something, let her know he was okay. The old bat was probably worried as hell. With a grunt, Naruto closed his dresser and headed out of the room, a shirt and pair of sweatpants, graciously supplied by Yusaka, laid upon his shoulders. A nice morning bath was in his near future. Now if only he could remember where Yusaka had taken him to bathe last night. He felt he was heading the right way when the sound of running water reached his ears, steam was billowing under a door. How they had an indoor hot spring, he didn't ask, but he wouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. A yawn nearly cracked Naruto's jaw as he opened the door and moved to stand near the cloths rack and hamper placed close to the door. He belatedly noticed the spring a few feet off to his left, but quickly pushed it from his mind. He just wanted to laze in the warm water for a bit. Naruto hung up his clothes and quickly stripped. He had spent an hour in here last night, so he was eager to get back in the relaxing pool. He stared at the necklace he had been given yesterday for a moment. It was so familiar. He couldn't put his finger on it, but it just felt right around his neck. With a shake of the head, he deposited the shard and string on a hook, he could think on it later. He turned and moved to the water, sinking up to his nose in the water as he relaxed in the water's embrace. Ah, escaped our hero's mouth, the glory of hot water and steam working its magic. Naruto could die happy right now. So warm. Well, it seems you are enjoying yourself. A female voice carried over Naruto, snapping him from the lose of self that the water provided, like an ice bucket of water was dumped on his back. You ever have those days where shit just didn't go as planned? Yeah. Yusaka looked at Naruto, a shit-eating grin firmly in place. She had seen him come in, and before she could even think of calling out to him, the shock of him walking into the women's hot spring overpowering her mouth, the boy was nose deep in the water, bags clearing from his sleep-covered eyes. He must have had a rough night, she thought, which was a given, the boy had a lot of information thrown at him in a short amount of time. The look on his face was priceless, she was glad she hadn't announced her presence sooner, this was gold. The sputtering and stuttering that followed as Naruto's young eyes drank in Yusaka's naked, soaked form, had perils of laughter force their ways from her lips. She wasn't exactly modest, her usual attire leaving little to the imagination, but few had ever seen her in such a state of undress. To see such a comical reaction, well she supposed she could forgive the sleep-deprived boy. Though, she might not want to tell Uncle Kakuo he might kill the boy. Naruto was caught flat-footed. Why was Yusaka in the bath with him? Why was she in the male hot spring? He couldn't even form a sentence to ask, his voice torn between shrilly screaming and bellowing out demands for her to leave. Something he realized, in the back of his head, would be extremely rude. Ikinda was her house. Yes, a master of the spoken from. Why not start with one word and move to the next slowly? It might help. Oh, this was fun. Maybe this will be Naruto's first lesson, how to deal with a naked woman. Yusaka was sure she could get a few years of blackmail with that. What are you doing in here? Naruto's mind finally rebooted, allowing him to stand, a towel around his waist in a flash, a hand pointing at Yusaka accusingly. Well, I woke up this morning and felt grimy from some late night drinking. So I decided to come to the women's hot spring and take a bath. Lo and behold, not 10 minutes later my new charge and council member decides to join me. How bold. The tone of Yusaka's voice was absolutely condescending and teasing. The cheeky smile on her face didn't help. Naruto bolted from the water, stopping only long enough to grab his clothes and new necklace before he hightailed it from the room back to his own sleeping chamber, shame and Yusaka's laughter chasing him. Oh, this was gonna be fun. Scene change. Kunu was concerned. Her brother was sitting at the breakfast table, dressed in sweats and an orange shirt, a green shard hanging from his neck. That was pretty normal, she guessed. The look of humiliation and burning blush wasn't. Mama, what's wrong with Nai-chan? Is he broken? The smile that split Yusaka's face and the way Naruto slumped in his seat only confused the poor girl more. Ni-chan and Mama were weird. It's nothing, sweetie, just some trouble this morning, don't worry about it. Are you ready to go with Yatsunam-san? Kunu's face grew blank, Yusaka's heart went out to the poor girl. Yatsunam was one of the oldest yokai around, only outpaced by the Council of Nine, close to her father's age were he still around. She remembered her own time under the man as nothing but tedious and soul-crushingly boring. It needed to be done, however, he knew the ins and outs of leadership and as a living piece of history, Kunu needed his guidance in her studies to become leader of yokai. Do I have to? There was the wine. Something Yusaka was quite familiar with. Kunu had a habit of trying to skip out on her studies. Not that she could be blamed, as a little girl, playing was always at the forefront of her mind. Yes, sweetie. How about I make a deal with you? Yusaka wanted to nip this in the bud for a while now, and she may just have the perfect idea for it. It was time for Kunu to take up training in her chakra anyway. If you focus on your studies until lunch, I'll let you come with Naruto and I when I get him started on chakra training later. This caused Naruto to perk up. Chakra? What the hell was that? You promise? The look in Kunu's face was searching, trying to find any deceit. She had been bugging her mom on chakra for weeks, why the change of heart now? Well, obviously because now she had to teach someone else as well, but Kunu didn't need to know that. I promise. Focus on some history and mathematics, maybe some politics, and if you don't run off, I'll start you on chakra alongside Naruto. Yusaka nodded her head. Kunu was unnaturally attached to Naruto in such a short time, why she couldn't fathom, and it kind of worried her, but she trusted the boy and Uncle Jayuki did too, so might as well make use of that bond. Fine. But only cause Nai-chan will be there too. Kunu declared, as if her word were law. Any chance to spend time with her big brother was worth a few hours of tort teaching at the hands of old man Yatsunam. A lady Yusaka, what's chakra? Naruto felt left out, this entire conversation was going clear over his head. Was this one of those yokai-specific things Iho wanted to teach him? We'll get on that later, Naruto, and please, just call me Yusaka, Yasuka responded, digging her knife into the food or cooking staff it just sat before herself and the two children. Kunu is right. Your family now. No need to be so formal. Alright, sorry Yusaka-san, Naruto spoke, a little uncomfortable being so familiar with the leader of such a powerful faction like theirs. For now, after we eat, you and I will be going to the training field on the far side of Mount High, Uncle Jayuki, and I will be testing you in physical abilities to see what we have to work with. Yusaka explained how their morning hours would be spent. If Naruto was a pure fox like her uncle said, it would take a lot to tire him out. After that we'll have you run a few obstacles and see how you stack up in a hand-to-hand fight. Did Iho teach you any of that? It was a reasonable question, Iho was a world-class fighter. Well, she taught me a little self-defense. Nothing formal, just some combinations and holds. A few pressure points that would let me escape an assailant easier. Naruto thought he would never understood why she was so set on the kids at the orphanage learning ways to fight, but after the fire, it made a lot more sense. Good. That means you won't have many ingrained habits, so teaching you a fighting style should be easier after we see where you stand in strength and endurance. Yusaka took a swallow of orange juice after she spoke. If Iho was still on top of her game, then Naruto might be a fair fighter at hand-to-hand even with so little in the way of form. Iho was deadly in close range, she remembered a spar they had a few years back. That bruise she had gotten on her face still irked her. Well, eat your fill, it'll be a few hours before we break for lunch, and Uncle Jayuki is a madman on the training field. Yusaka grinned at Naruto's loud gulp before he dug into his plate. She hoped he didn't puke. Scene change. Naruto walked out to the training grounds, a half step behind and to the right of Yusaka. It was beautiful out here. Nature was so abundant, the air was clear, the grass a rich green, leaves bright and cheerful. He could feel the flow of life in this section of wilderness, it was calming. The walk had been a short one, but all the same it gave Yusaka time to think. Uncle Jayuki was a tough man, so anything she thought of in ways of tiring Naruto out, he would want to triple on principle. Hopefully it would be enough to break down the improved physicality all yokai share, not to mention the extra strength and stamina pure nine-tailed fox is made with. Here we are. Yusaka spoke, pulling Naruto out of his small nature-induced trace, and with a shake of his head, Naruto began to take in the field around them. It was a large clearing mostly, there was a small shrine in the distance, stones erect in the open space between two large trees, a small garden at the base of the structures. It captured his attention rapidly. That is where my grandmother is buried. Yusaka spoke softly, melancholy coloring her tone. She loved coming out here and tending the flowers. Said they reminded her of older days, back when her partner was still alive. She carried on, she remembered her grandmother fondly and often sat at her headstone and took in the sights and smells of nature, just basking in the life that surrounded the grave. Kunu should be brought here more, she decided. What was she like? Naruto asked before he could stop himself. He had seen the painting in the meeting room, so he assumed she was beautiful, and as the first leader of yokai, he knew she was strong. She even fought alongside the biblical god apparently. She was a force of nature. It wasn't Yusaka who spoke. Shukaku. One each hand was the strongest of us. And the kindest. Father had made her that way for a reason. He had faith in her. You should know that father. The raccoon yokai continued, his eyes fixed on the grave, a small, sad grin on his face. He missed his One-chan. Shukaku, stop confusing the poor boy. He is not our creator. That deep baritone again. Jayuki. His K never present. But he is right. Kurama, it's hard to put into words. It was like seeing a hurricane. Raw unbridled power of nature at her beck and call. All yokai can use nature inherently, something we were gifted upon our creation and that later generations were born with as some latent birthright. But it was like watching a master at work when she took up arms. The way Jayuki spoke was wistful, remembering bygone days and becoming lost as he too gazed at the stones in the distance. But what was she like as a person? In for a penny in for a pound they say. As a person it's hard to say really. Jayuki spoke first, he had known Kurama as long as any of their other siblings, but he also had more interaction with her. She was fair, but kind. Especially later in life, after she created Kashikoi, Yusaka's father. Always trying to help. Never cross her though. That woman could make me shit my pants when she was angry. I think it was something that carried over from our father, as Shukaku so graciously calls him. Jayuki sat on the grass, cane across his crisscrossed legs. One-chan was smart too. Always knowing who to send where and when. The people we fought against feared her prowess and tactics, and the ones we fought beside trusted any plan she passed down. Shukaku loved Kurama. Out of everyone, she was the one he looked to when father passed, because he didn't know what to think anymore. He followed her lead, because father put faith in her. She was loving and wise. As beautiful as the nature around us now, and as old as the trees. Happy to give advice whenever asked. Yusaka loved thinking about her grandmother, no matter how much she missed her. The memories were bittersweet, but sweet nonetheless. I wish I could have met her. Naruto was honest. She sounded like an amazing person, he had to make sure to offer some prayers later. Jayuki stared at Naruto for a moment, something flashing in his eyes at the boy's words, unnoticed by the others in the field. A beat. Then he stood. Enough reminiscing. We came here to test you. The clearing we are in is a natural hotspot for the formation of nature chakra, one of about 12 in the world. This will help you heal faster and fight harder. Think of it as a background medic, healing you constantly. Do not try to draw on the energy you feel, as you are not ready for it. Just let it flow around you. It'll do the rest. Jayuki got down to business. We'll start with basic exercise and move on from there. Get ready kid, this is gonna suck. For you. The grin on Jayuki's face made Naruto shiver. Fuck. Scene change. Kunu was walking with old man Yatsu toward her mother's training grounds. She was gonna visit great-grandma's grave too while she was at it. The excitement she felt was clear. It was finally time to start training her chakra. Oh man, Ni-chan was gonna love it. She broke through the last few trees in the clearing, a smile clear on her face, only to come up short. Mama? Check. Uncle Shukaku? Check. Uncle Jayuki? Check. Big brother laying on the ground in a heap of pain and misery. Check, check. Mama, is he supposed to look like that? The young voice pulled everyone's eyes to the young Nine-Tails and her tutor keeper. Noon already? Lady Yusaka, I have brought Lady Kunu as requested. Will you need anything else of this old man today? Yatsunam's force, age and rough, called throughout the clearing. No, we shall take over for the day. Thank you Yatsunam, please feel free to take the rest of the day off. Yusaka spoke kindly, ever as she grinned at her daughter probing Naruto's down form with her toes. Ni-chan, are you alive? Ah, the innocence of youth. Look alive Naruto, it's time to get into hard stuff. A groan was Naruto's only response to the bull of battle's demand. Everything hurt, but he stood all the same. Slave drivers, all three of them. Now, we're going to tackle something very important, so listen carefully. Jayuki tapped his cane thrice, grabbing the two youths' attention. Yokai are special in the way we use energy. We are able to mold something no other faction or species has. Chakra. It is the manifestation of spiritual and physical energies that when combined, make a power source for spell crafting, seal making, enhanced healing, improved physical strength, and a plethora of other things. The old bull yokai started to pace. Each member of the yokai species has certain attributes that have passed down throughout the generations. You two, however, are special. Kunu, you are half yokai, and Naruto, you are a pure fox yokai. The two children looked at each other, confusion clear in their eyes. Kunu, this training may be harder on you, yokai that have been bred from other species have a harder time using chakra, but an easier time with other forms of magic. We aren't sure how it'll affect you, because you are the first half-fox yokai to ever exist, but don't let it bother you if something goes wrong. Jayuki spoke, his tone flat, but compassion in his gaze. He didn't want to hurt the poor girl after all. Shukaku turned to Naruto, speaking directly to him, "Father, you re like us. Created from energy. Brought to life by the amalgamation of power and control. You could either channel chakra immediately or not learn to use it for a few thousand years." Kukyo certainly didn't. Isaka took up where Shukaku left off, her eyes casting a glance at her uncle. "I want you to close your eyes and calm your breathing. Try to block out everything around you. Look into yourself and find a glow or warmth. Once you do, I want you to pull on it." Her words were vague, but not from lack of trying. Chakra felt different for most, but to use loose ideas and have them find it based off that. A soft gasp escaped Kunu's lips as an energy started rising within her. It felt so warm. So powerful. So right. Isaka wasn't surprised, Kunu had always been a gifted girl, and this was a simple enough task. The amount of chakra she could feel from her daughter was pleasantly surprising in its amount too. For a nine-tails that was only half yokai, it was certainly more than Yusaka had fairly expected. That's when they all felt it, it even broke Kunu out of her own mental trance, her power shrinking away like a candle in the night. It was pure pressure. Massive, all-encompassing. Pressing down on even Shukaku and Jayuki. All eyes widened, taking in the malevolent storm swirling around Naruto's form. The boy had found his chakra all right. Jayuki was right, he was a pure yokai, like the other council of 9. Naruto was lost in his mind. This power it hurt. It was familiar, but strange. Like he should know what to do, but it strained his body, he could hear his bones creak from the pressure. He had to force it back. He had to stop it. The levels of power just kept rising, Naruto and those around him pushed more and more down as the levels grew higher. Yusaka struggled to her daughter's side, the pressure immense, before she teleported herself and the young girl back to the temple. Uncle Jayuki and Uncle Shukaku would have to help Naruto, she needed to protect Kunu from the whirlwind of power that had taken over the field. Naruto. Naruto. Jayuki yelled in vain, damn it. The boy couldn't hear him over the maelstrom of energy around him. He'd have to snap the boy out of it by force. Naruto was in a foot-deep crater now, power weighing him down like the sins of the damned. Pulling him ever stronger into the depths of the earth. Control. Breathe. Calm. Come on, come on. He could do this. He was Naruto. He wouldn't fail. Relax. Push it back. The green light resounded from Naruto's neck. The shard. Focus on the shard. Come on. Focus. Push it back. Come on. Raghh. The scream tore from the blonde's mouth with a vengeance as a blast of energy shot him clear off his feet. A chiming in his eyes as he lay there and looked up at the sky. The sun was really high. He was glad some clouds blocked it out after a moment. Jayuki was amazed. He didn't think the boy could force his power back. Not like it was unheard of, but to make that kind of energy submit in his first time out, well, it wasn't something to scoff at. Garama must have been right about that necklace. He never did find out where she got it from. He would have asked her to get more, the ability to focus yokai energy was not something to be ignored. Boy, we have a long, long way to go. Naruto heard in that familiar baritone, it barely registered. So this was his power, huh? This was dangerous. He had to be careful. He groaned aloud. Why couldn't shit ever be easy? Scene change. Time skipped 7 years later. Naruto sighed as he exited the train, duffel bag thrown over his shoulder. The last few years had been a trial, but man had it been worth it. He looked out over the Kuo City skyline. The more things change. The blonde thought to himself, he wondered belatedly how Rias and Kaneko were doing. He hadn't seen them in a while. He needed to find a place to stay too, not to mention seeing old lady Iho. Oh well, first things first. Time for some ramen. The day was perfect. Nothing could ruin it. It was the best days in the history of days. At least, that's what you would be told if you asked one Issei Haidu. He is a young man cruising on cloud 9. He was 16 years of age, a modest 5 foot 10 inches, the standard brown hair and an exceedingly non-standard way of hairstyling, light brown eyes and rounded features finished off his visage. He wouldn't be winning any homecoming awards, but compared to his friends, he was miles more attractive. Cute would be the word. Like a favorite cousin or little brother. The reason for the teen's elation? Well, for that we have to go back a few days. Scene change. It had all started Monday. Issei and his two friends, a boy with a shaved head named Mitsuda and another boy with large glasses and hair the same shade as Issei's, named Motohama, were peeping in the changing room of Kuo Academy's kendo club. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, peeping. You see, these three young men were perverts. Of the highest order. Barely a few months into their second school year and already dubbed a perverted trio. Ah, today's youth. Moving on. As they sat on the side of the building the changing room was located, darkness overtook the three lads. When they came to, they were tied up in their underwear in the middle of the practice arena. The screams that followed, well, let's just say justice was swift and brutal. Very, very brutal. It may have started out a bad day, but bad very quickly went to good. Well, for Issei at least. He had been approached by a young beauty after school had let out. She stood in front of Issei like an angel descended from heaven, a bashful blush across her cheeks. Long dark tresses flowing down her back, clad in a dull red school jacket, a golden P emblazoned over her left breast. A navy-colored skirt hid the girl's long legs, of which black stocking clung to. If it wasn't the beauty of the girl that made his day, it was the words. Are you Issei Haidu FR from Kuo Academy? Jesus, even her voice was beautiful. Yeah. Can I help you with something? A master conversationalist, Issei was not. To be fair, he had only had a few conversations with a girl where she wasn't actively trying to maim him in some way. So he could be forgiven for his dumbfounded response. My name is Amano Yuma. I was wondering if you would be ever so kind that as if you would please be my boyfriend. The blush on the girl's face grew deeper. She probably didn't mean to yell that last bit, Issei guessed belatedly, and with that Issei was hooked. She was too perfect, too beautiful. How could the teen even think of denying her? Scene change. The week that had followed was pure bliss for the boy. He, Issei Haidu, a member of the perverted trio, had a girlfriend. They only saw each other sparsely throughout the week, but bragging rights were a thing. They had agreed to go on a date the following weekend, which leads us to the now. Issei had spent all day with the dark-haired beauty, and absolutely nothing could get him down at this moment. The two teens were winding down the day with a stroll through Kuo Park, the setting sun casting a romantic glow on the entire affair. It didn't matter if his mom teased him all morning about it. It didn't matter if his only friends were pissed at him. It didn't even matter that some blonde bastard had tripping him in the food court at the mall. The day was perfect. Issei Yuma's voice dragged the teen from his place among the clouds. What's up, Yuma-chan? God, he loved being able to say that. Take that, every mean girl at Kuo Academy. He could too get a girlfriend. Today has been the best day ever. I'm just so happy. The blush that covered Yuma's face was brilliant in its color. I've never had so much fun. But the girl trailed off, her eyes casting to the ground as she did. But what, Yuma-chan? Issei's voice had a slightly worried edge. Oh god, she was gonna dump him. He hadn't even been able to play with her oppai yet. Never change, Issei, you lovable idiot. It's just I want you to do something for me, but I don't know how to ask. Yuma played in the dirt with the tip of her shoe, looking every bit the bashful maiden. Issei came up short. Was she going to ask him to kiss her? I'll do anything you ask, Yuma-chan. Shoot first, ask questions whenever it became important, that described Issei to a T. Yuma's blush spread just a touch more, a 100-watt smile lighting up her face. Oh, that's wonderful, Issei. In that case, could you perhaps? With every pause Yuma grew a step closer to Issei. Eye for me? Yuma's hands were on Issei's chest, the smile on her face was still beautiful. It was the words that were off then. Issei blanched before sticking a finger in his ear, wiggling it around for good measure. I'm sorry, could you repeat yourself? I think I had something stuck in my ear. He looked down at the girl he had slowly been falling for all day. Did she really just ask him? Will you die for me, Issei-kun? Pretty please. The smile wasn't pleasant anymore. The hand on his chest no longer felt comforting. Something was wrong. This wasn't his Yuma-chan, this was who was she? Yuma took a few steps back, a light encasing her form. What came out of the glow wasn't a teenage girl from a nearby high school. This woman was slightly taller, much more voluptuous, with a look on her face that was much crueler. The hair was the same dark tone, but her face was more angular. The cute uniform from before had shifted into S&M practitioner's wet dream, leather and belts adorning her form. The real kicker were the wings. Two jet black feathered wings jetted from her back. Well, it was the kicker for everyone else. Issei was still stuck on the woman's leather-bound chest. Oppai. The only thought in the boy's head for more than a few seconds. Focus up, Issei, shit is getting real. The gasp escaped Issei's throat. Why did it feel like someone had punched him in the chest? A hacking cough followed, blood spilling from his lips. Wasa looked down, a spear of light was sticking through his chest, puncturing his right lung. The woman before him laughed. It was cruel and final. Filled with contempt for the boy slowly falling to his knees before her and pride at what she had just done. Issei landed on his back in the dirt, blood slowly pooling around him as the spear disintegrated. What was going on? Ahahaha, I really do want to thank you, Issei. I had more fun today than I have in a long time, and this gift you won me will always be cherished. The woman looked at the pink scrunchie on her wrist, won from a claw machine in the mall. Why yumma, the words left his throat in a croak. Blood was pooling in his throat now, his world was darkening. Don't call me that. My name is Rainer. Remember that when you meet St. Peter. With a dismissive last look, the woman flew off. Any chance of Issei leaving with her? Issei stared at the sky, darkness eating away at the edge of his vision. Was this really how he would die? Alone in some small park? He wished it could be some better way, something more fitting a man like him. He wished he could die in Oppai. Naruto looked at Issei's full form, the blood pooling around him. He knew he had felt a barrier in the area, he just hadn't been fast enough to save the perverted lug. He was holding on, barely. Naruto could do him one last kindness. Might as well, Naruto thought as he moved forward and knelt at Issei's side. He took a strong grip on the boy's arm. Listen to me. You want to live right. Want it more than anything else. What do you desire most right now? The dull eyes glanced in Naruto's direction, alerted to his presence, but not really there. Issei, the blonde head of hair and the blue eyes. It made him think of the third year, Rias' Gremory. The tones were different to be sure, but she had such beautiful eyes. Flowing red hair, the color of his life essence now staining the earth. Oh Oppai, Naruto face palmed. This idiot wants that in his last moments of life. Really? Come on. He had to sweat drop when a red light shined from the down teen's pocket. Naruto's eyes widened, narrowed, then finally settled into indifference, he could ask questions later. Naruto took a few steps back, teleporting magic could be finicky as all hell. Do you want to live, Issei Haidu? Ah, there she was, guess she was expecting this. Shame on you, Rias, leaving the poor boy to his death. Naruto rubbed his brow. He'd lecture her later. Then rise, Issei, as a devil under my command. Live for me and serve for me as my pawn. Man, she was laying it on thick today, wasn't she? Naruto examined his nails as Rias completed the ritual, 8 pawn pieces absorbed into the brunette's body. Oh good, the light show was over. You know, Rias-chan, you should really watch your surroundings. Rias spun like a top, her energy flaring at the unknown entity now in her senses. Well, unknown till she say that bright blonde hair, blue eyes and shit-eating grin. She knew that grin anywhere. Naruto. She had wanted to scream. It came out a squawk. Naruto's grin widened, this would be fun. Scene change. Naruto leaned back into the posh couch situated in Ria's little hideaway. Some club room at the local high school he had been shadowing while following Issei around for the last week. He had to admit, it was a rather fetching room, very prim and proper, old English style. Dark though. Plus the desk Ria's currently sat behind was a bit much. Oh, she was massaging her temples. She was always so cute when she acted annoyed. Oh shit, game time. What are you doing out of Kyoto, Naruto? Ria's voice cut through the, to her anyway, tense atmosphere of the room. At least she got Issei home after the ritual. After reviving Issei and realizing she had an uninvited guest watching the entire action, she called upon Akeno, her trusted queen, to have her take the teenage boy home. She was to stay with him throughout the night and heal the damage that fallen angel had wrought. Then, herself and Naruto returned to her base of devil operations, the occult research club of Kuo Academy. Really, it was just a big headache. Again, for Rias anyway. Naruto had been grinning like an idiot the whole way there, not once breaking stride or speaking. Maybe he was in the wrong place at the right time sounded like him. Well, these last few years have been a whirlwind of training, so Jayuki Jiji and Yusaka-chan decided I needed a little break. Naruto spoke. He was enjoying watching the teenage girl squirm. She was trying to figure him out, something she had never managed to pull off before. Naruto 27, Rias 0. Then why are you here in Kuo? I know our factions are on friendly terms, but Rias wasn't sure what to think. It was like trying to solve a Rubik cube when you were working on whatever plan Naruto cooked up. And the room you were in was on fire. And filled with high explosives. Did you really forget I grew up here? The look on Naruto's face was blank. Seriously, they had had more than their fair share of conversations. How could she forget something so basic? Rias had the decency to blush. Naruto clutched at his heart dramatically. Rias-chan. I'm hurt. How could you? Ah, and the blush thickens. He never understood why she blushed more when he acted like an idiot. Okay, I'm sorry. I just haven't seen you in a while. It has been almost a year. She hated it when Naruto acted like that. It was like dealing with her older brother. Stupid Naisama. Yeah, I'm sorry about that by the way. I meant to get together with you and Nico-chan before you left last time, but something demanded my attention in the Tokyo region. It's been a hectic few months. It's actually part of the reason I'm here. Naruto's face grew a bit grim. This was Gremory territory, so being here unannounced was a touch unprofessional, no matter his friendship with the heir to the family name. Rias grew serious. If it could kill Naruto's always bright personality so quickly, it must be important, and with her own problems coming to head soon, this may be a total shitstorm. What's going on? Her voice was pleasant, but the demand for information was there. If only slightly. A lot of fallen activity is taking place inside the city. I tracked a Rouge element from Tokyo to here. I don't have more information than that there are 3 of them. The old crow has given us leave to handle it as we please, but without more info on the up and up, Naruto informed. It had been like pulling getting that much, fucking lackeys. Azazel was a pain in the ass too, he wouldn't reign in his faction, and allowing someone else to do it was something he was really against. That could be a problem, it might explain why Issei-kun was being followed as well. Rias spoke, mostly to herself, but Naruto's enhanced hearing picked up on it. Oh yeah, I meant to ask about that. Why was a fallen angel dating a boy from your little academy anyway? Naruto's eyes had a certain look in them, something judgmental. Rias sighed. She was really hoping he wouldn't have noticed. The long and short of it. Riser. A flash of understanding crossed Naruto's face. Ah, you got turned onto the fact the fallen were watching the boy and wanted to see why. You wanted to add someone to that little slave trade of yours. The tone in his voice was cutting. Rias knew how Naruto felt about the whole forced servitude aspect of the evil P system. She was honestly amazed he ever got around to calling her a friend when he realized what it all entailed. Though the lecture she got the first time around would be best forgotten. I know, you don't like how it is, but the fact of the matter is I need to say. If the fallen were tracking him due to a sacred gear, I needed to know what it was before I approached him. Rias tried to reason. And instead of sorting it yourself, you let a boy meet death and took any choice away from him. Isn't that exactly what your family is doing to you? The look on Naruto's face was undeniable contempt. He loathed the evil pieces devils were so fond of. Anyone who could entertain forced servitude to boost population was low on his list of nice guys. Rias stood from her chair in anger. You know it's not like that. The clatter of things from her desk falling to the floor as her hand slammed down. Do I, Rias? Naruto stood from the couch, a glare marring his features. You. Let. Him. Die. Each word was spoken with a heavy footfall, the blonde approaching Ria's desk. He is a teenager with no idea about the supernatural. No real threat to anyone the way he is now. Instead of pulling him in here and telling him what was going on, you let him die. Naruto was breathing hard at the end of his triad. His hands firmly planted against the other side of Ria's desk, their faces so close they could feel one another's breathe. This hurt. Fighting with his friend, but she had to understand that playing with the lives of others was wrong. Rias flinched first. It was like looking into the heart of winter, Naruto's blue eyes. So usually full of warmth and hope and compassion, now just dark chips of ice. I know, okay, but I can't be married to that man, I don't know what else to do. Rias hated herself, she didn't mean for it to happen like that. She wanted to talk to Issei in private and was just trying to psych herself up. She just waited too long. Naruto let his glare soften, tension leaving his form. He knew what this was all about, the approaching nuptials with the oversized chicken known as Riser Phoenix. The epitome of douchebag kind. Rias, you have to let me help you with this. I know I can think of something, but if you shut me out I can't do anything. Now he was at the heart of the matter. He wasn't a fan of the evil P system, sure, and Rias had fucked up, leaving Issei out on a line, but what really bothered him was Rias not coming to him for help. In all honesty, after following the boy for the last week, he doubted if the boy would choose to decline, even if Issei was informed of the dangers. Perverts. 80% stupid, 15% luck, and 5% totally reliable. Rias had tears in her eyes. She really didn't like it when Naruto was like this, like he was so much older than her, looking down on her. Always wanting to help and be a friend, even when things were totally fucked. She wrapped her arms around herself and shook a little as silent sobs racked her form. She was scared. Terrified of what her future might hold if she was forced to be with that man. Rias looked up, strong arms had wrapping around her. I'll help you deal with this, I swear to you. That fried turkey will never lay his hand on you. Naruto spoke softly into her hair, his form towering a foot above her with ease. When did he get so big? Rias just pushed herself into the embrace a little more, needing something, anything to cling to in that moment. Are you still mad about Issei? Her voice was soft, a whisper. Weaker than what Naruto was used to. Well, I'm not happy about it, but I know why you did it, and while I don't approve, what's done is done. Naruto rubbed Ria's back slowly, trying to calm her shot nerves. He had forgotten how stressed she tended to get. A year would do that, he supposed. However, you need to tell him. Tomorrow. I'm going to be there too, and we are going to explain everything. Got it. Rias knew there was no arguing, she was lucky they were even on speaking terms right now. Scene change. Night came and went, as it oft does, and before long Naruto found himself once more on the grounds of Kuo Academy. This is becoming a habit. He mused silently, his feet carrying him to the old school building that Rias had commandeered as a base. Well, no time like the present. The next step left a flash, and then an empty walkway. Inside, looming doorways. Sparsely light halls. Doom and gloom. Yup, this was the meeting room. I'll never understand why devils use such gloomy places. Naruto thought as he knocked on the door. The form that greeted him made him take a step back. Fuck. Akeno. He had forgot. Naruto-sama. That sharp smile, those cruel eyes. He had to run. Before he could, a slender arm grabbed his collar, leading his eyes to trace the appendage to a tall girl of about 18. She had a very curvaceous body, clad in the female uniform of Kuo Academy. A red skirt matched to black socks and dress shoes, her arms and chest covered by a white button-up shirt with a black waistcoat. Now what are you doing here? The voice was so sweet, he knew the edge it hid. A soft whimper was Naruto's only response. Naruto was the image of calm and collected. He exuded pose and control. Years of training with some of the strongest people in the world had instilled absolute control in himself. At least he was on the outside. On the inside, safe in the recesses of his own mind, Naruto was sweating bullets and cussing up a storm. How in the hell could he forget about Akeno being here? After their initial meeting in Kyoto all those years ago, Naruto thought all three girls were very level-headed and sweet. The subsequent meetings throughout the years after had revealed something different. Rias was a total dork. She was cute in her own way, but a complete Japanophile. Kaneko, well, pretty mellow and adorable, was a candy fiend with a tongue as vicious as a viper. Akeno was graceful and very respectful, even when it wasn't necessary. She was also the scariest fucking woman Naruto had ever met. She had a sweet smile and kind eyes, to be sure, but what hid beneath those beautiful orbs was just misery. Misery and despair delivered upon all they surveyed. Which is why now, as Naruto sat on the couch beside Kaneko in the occult research club, he stilled every time those eyes burned into his form. Like some instinct telling him that if he didn't move, he would be okay. Naruto-sama Akeno cooed, causing the blonde to stiffen once more. How she loved to watch the fox yakai squirm. It was his own fault really. When he had arrived in Kuo, he had made sure to inform both Kaneko and Rias, in that order. He did not inform Akeno. Rias had the pleasure of doing that. Given the years they have all known each other, well, it was safe to say Akeno was a bit put out, and dare she say, a touch actually hurt. Why yes Akeno-chan. Naruto twitched when her voice invaded his senses, Kaneko's Cheshire grin at his misfortune not helping in the least. Snarky brat. How come Lady Rias was the one to inform me of your return? From what I understand, Kaneko received a visit from you more than a week ago, while Rias was contacted via cell phone. Did you not miss me? The hurt in her voice almost sounded honest. A small part of it was, one of her oldest friends had seemingly forgotten she existed. I'm sorry about that Akeno-chan, I just got really caught up in everything and forgot. Naruto finished lamely. He did actually feel bad. Akeno was one of his oldest friends, forgetting about her for even a minute kinda put a knife in his heart. The fact that she was twisting the blade with a smile was just his punishment, he supposed. Oh, that won't do, perhaps we should have another spar. Jog your memory and make sure that you never forget again. There was a distinctly dangerous tone in her voice, and Naruto actually sunk in on himself in shame. He was glad it was only the three of them in the room. Okay Akeno-chan. I know I fucked up, how can I make it up to you? Naruto was a fair man. He made a mistake and now it was time to pay for the consequences. A fair question, what to do. The dark-haired girl tilted her head, her face the picture of contemplation. It was kind of cute in Naruto's opinion, but honestly, all three girls had those weirdly adorable thinking poses. What? He was a growing teenage boy. He was allowed to appreciate their beauty. Before Akeno could draw up any insane demands, Rias entered the room. For all the world looking as if the breakdown she experienced the night before never happened. Naruto was glad for that, he hated seeing people upset. How about you take me on a date, Naruto-sama? Oh. There was Akeno again. Did I say something about not drawing up insane demands? My bad. You could hear a pin drop. Rias was frozen mid-step to her desk. The cookie in Kaneko's hand was frozen midway to her mouth, then crushed into minuscule pieces. All three girls waited on bated breath, Akeno more in the hopes of an outrageous reaction from one of the other three occupants. A beat. Is that all? Well, I don't see why not. How about this weekend? I found this great barbecue place tucked away in the Mar. Naruto was stopped mid-word as Kaneko punched him in the back of the head. His face met the table. Then the floor. After going through the table, Rias just smiled as she continued on to her desk. Good job Kaneko. What the fuck was that for? Naruto shouted as he hauled himself from the mess of table and floor. Akeno laughed behind her hand. Oh my Kaneko, such a strong reaction. Akeno was a woman of simple tastes, watching Naruto get brained by the diminutive white-haired girl was one of them. Stupid senpai. Was Naruto's only clue. After speaking, Kaneko returned to her plate of cookies, firmly ignoring the only blonde in the room. Naruto, for his part, just sat there, confused. What had he done this time? Girls are weird. He crossed his arms in a huff, put out by the whole mess. A knock on the door drew everyone's attention. Through the portal, one Kibayudo appeared followed by a very confused and slightly awed Issei Haidu. Naruto stood and approached his childhood friend. Kiba. His happy shout meeting his fellow blonde seconds before he pulled him into a hug. The first time they were reunited was much more stressful and heart-wrenching, but in moments like this, Naruto made sure to give Kiba a tight hug. The guy didn't get much in the way of affection nowadays, so Naruto had taken it upon himself. Naruto air lungs. Unfortunately, Naruto also didn't know his own strength sometimes. The fact that Kiba was now a foot off the ground in a bear hug spoke to that effect. All the while Issei took in his surroundings, trying to desperately ignore the show of bromance to his right. This place was really gloomy, was his first observation, quickly followed by holy shit. As he noticed the three girls in various positions around the room. That's Kaneko Taoju. The school mascot. And it's Rias senpai and Akeno senpai. The two great one-isama. Issei pointed to each individual as he shouted. The amusement on Rias and Akeno's face were clear. See Akeno? A cute idiot little brother. More like idiot pervert. Kaneko chimed in, drawing a laugh from the two blondes as Issei's face faltered. Though like all idiots, Issei quickly righted himself, a question clear in his eyes. He was looking at the two blondes in the room, chatting quietly as if they had known each other for ages. He knew who Kiba was, stupid blonde pretty boy, but he had no idea why the other blonde looked so familiar. Excuse me, have we met? Issei's voice cut through all conversation, and for a moment the room stilled, like some unknown weight was pressing down on all the occupants. I suppose in a way we have met before. Was Naruto's reply, and just like that, the pressure lifted. He was still a bit upset at Rias for the way that the brunette and himself had met. Okay. So why am I here again? Issei was a bit shell-shocked. Why was he, the local scourge of women, well surrounded by beautiful women? And two blonde guys? Issei still blanched at that. Right to the point, Issei, I like that. Rias, would you like to explain, or should I? Naruto was making a production of this, and everyone but Issei knew it. He really wanted to throw Rias under this particular bus, if to only teach her a lesson. Lives were not meant to be played with. I'll handle it, thank you Naruto. Rias spoke softly. She really had been dreading this conversation, simply because now, she would be forced to be honest with the boy, instead of playing on his weaknesses as she had planned before. Naruto was nothing if not a contrite-inducing bastard. The long and short of it is, Issei, everyone in this room, aside from Naruto, is what is known as a devil. To accent her point, dark leathery wings appeared on the backs of everyone aside from the resident fox and clueless brunette. Issei, for his part, was occupied with trying to pull his jaw closed. Naruto thought it was a fairly comical expression. But wahoo, Issei was a sputtering mess, however else he saw his day going, this was definitely not it. Naruto walked to him and placed a hand on the brunette's shoulder, a trick he had picked up from Mitabi, the two-tailed council of 9 member. Pulse your chakra slowly, allow it to softly invade someone's being, and force a kind of calm. Easy there, Issei, this isn't the time to lose your head. That comes later. The way Naruto said was supposed to be reassuring, Issei just gulped. Is that why I'm here? You need a sacrificial virgin. All movement stopped. Ria's eyes had widened considerably, Akeno had a hand over her mouth, a soft giggle shaking her form and a small oh my. Leaving her lips. Kaneko tried not to kill the pervert. Who just shouts stuff like that? Kiba had the most tame reaction, a blank face that conveyed the unspoken what. Naruto had a certain way of dealing with random idiotic outbursts. Oh. Issei dropped to the floor, holding the back of his head. Namely violence. No you idiot, they aren't going to sacrifice you. Jesus. Naruto looked sheepish as the other occupants of the room grimaced, hearing the biblical godson's name. It may not have been a prayer, but even taking a holy being's name in vain tended to punish those of the darker supernatural world in the area, lightly. Look Rias, I'm sorry, but this will take forever. Issei, a few days ago you crossed paths with a girl named Yuma. Do you remember her? Issei nodded at the blonde, shock once more beguiling his features, the pain in his skull all but forgotten. Well yeah wait. That means I'm not crazy, why doesn't anyone else remember her? Issei pointed at Naruto, accusation and confusion clear in his eyes, assuming the blonde had some hand in it. A strange man corners you in a room full of so-called devils, you start to doubt their good intentions. We'll get on to that in a moment. Do you remember what else happened that day? Naruto looked at Issei pointedly, he could see the signs of denial already starting to fill the younger teen's eyes. I died, she stabbed me, didn't she? The question dropped with the high spirits in the room, a dark tone settling over all inside. That's right. She wasn't the girl you knew. She was in fact a fallen angel, one of the biblical God's creations, that fell due to an overabundance of one of the 7 deadly sins. If I had to guess, hers would be wrath. Naruto paced before Issei, letting the teen absorb his words. Naruto knew this couldn't be easy. But if that's true, Issei looked around the room, a glint of introspection taking place in his brow orbs. How am I here? Is this hell? His tone turned decidedly sorrowful, and Naruto moved to speak, but Rias beat him to the punch. Not even remotely close. You see, Issei, I was able to save you. At some point during the day, you received a slip of paper. Do you remember that? Rias rummaged through her desk before placing a small slip of paper, red tinted with the words, "Wish for what your heart desires most," boldly printed across the front. I was able to revive you and make you like us. A devil. Shock was clear. A hint of worry as well. Naruto could see that Issei was having a hard time coming to terms with the information, so he decided to drive in the nail. Naruto placed a hand between Issei's shoulders, then he pushed. Leathery wings, much like those upon the others, burst from Issei's back. The brown-haired teen had a moment to take in his new appendages in a small wonder before reality took over and he dropped to his knees, heaving dryly. It was a lot to take in, and the information was starting to get to him. His head hurt. What was going on? He didn't understand. Why him? What, why? What was he? The hand landed on his shoulder, dragging Issei's eyes to Naruto, who was kneeling beside him, compassion and understanding shining in his eyes. He knew where the brunette was right now. He would do his best to help it pass. Issei took a few calming breaths. He needed to get his head on right and listen, he knew that. Why me? Why did you save me? Issei looked up at Rias, who couldn't meet his eyes in that moment. Something that settled worry in the boy's heart. She needs you, Naruto spoke from his side. Issei, as much as it may be hard to believe, you are extremely special. It's the same reason the Fallen have targeted you. Naruto made sure to keep the boy's gaze, no lies. No half-truths. Clinical. What do you mean? Issei looked at his hands. He was an average guy. What made him so sought after? Because you hold a great power inside you. Issei, you hold what is called a sacred gear in your soul. The Fallen picked up on this, and I'm guessing the crow you were with was to watch out for any unsettling developments. I suppose she took it upon herself to end you before you could become a threat, we can't be certain though. Naruto tried to stay focused, this was important, and letting his mind wander to some side plot could ruin the young teen in front of him. So this sacred gear, is that what Rias wants as well? Issei started to feel worse. That means that she, yes. But not for the reason you think. I have already let my own personal displeasure of the situation be known, something Rias-chan won't soon forget. Usually, she is much more controlled, but recent events have forced her to act rashly. That's why I am here today. You are already reincarnated as a devil, but I am forcing her to tell you exactly why. Naruto gripped Issei's shoulder a little tighter. He couldn't save the boy from this fate, but he could at least let him know the whole truth as to why it happened. So why did you do it, Gremory-san? Issei turned to the crimson bombshell. His tone was hurt, and he noticed the way the girl flinched at the formal addressing. A small part of him took vindication in that. Rias-sama is to be married. It was Akeno that broke the suddenly heavy silence. The man she is promised to is a vile being. Seeing her as nothing more than a brood matron. She needs your strength to avoid her fate. Akeno kept her voice soft, she knew this was a tough subject for Rias. So when you said you reincarnated me, does that mean I am bound to you? Issei was thinking now, trying to make a clear choice. Yes. I used a part of what is known as the evil P system. It brought you back as a member of my peerage. It took 8 pawns to revive you, all of the pawns at my disposal. Rias turned and walked to the bay windows. This has bound you to me as my servant, though you don't have to really see it that way. Kaneko, Kiba and Akeno are all members of my peerage, but also my closet friends. She wanted to salvage this as much as she could. So you let me die in order to make me a slave. Issei's words were cold. Dead even. It cut Rias to the core. She had never actually had to turn someone after death. This was new to her. It hurt. Naruto looked on dispassionately, this needed to happen. He cast his eyes to the others in the room, killing any words they may have spoken. Yes. The word was soft, but it carried to everyone in the room. Issei turned his head, clenched fists and anger clear on his visage. How could you? Issei had never really been a violent man, much less towards women, but right now he wanted to put his fist through the girl across the room from him. I didn't know what else to do. Rias stayed facing out the window, she didn't want anyone there to see she was crying. They could all hear it in her voice though. Issei felt some anger deflate at that. He could never stand seeing a girl cry. He looked over to Naruto. This man, the one Gremory is promised to, how bad is he? He needed something, anything to justify his anger. A crying girl, silently begging forgiveness, wasn't helping. Take the worst scum you've ever met, someone who holds no one else as valuable, sees nothing but personal gain, and arrogant to the point of incredulity. That is Phoenix Riser. If it weren't for my station, I would have handled this a long time ago. Naruto wouldn't sell it to the boy. Rias had fucked up badly. He did want to help her, but this needed to be settled first. Issei stood there for a moment, contemplation firm on his features. He cast an eye to the wings sticking from his back. Then to the others in the room. None but Naruto met his eyes. Finally his eyes landed on Ria's back. He could see the tears in her eyes through the reflection on the window. Finally, his hands unclenched, his jaw untightened, and a sigh broke his lips. So how can I help? The words shocked Akeno into a gasp, Kiba into a dropped jaw, and even Kaneko looked suitably stunned. Naruto just had a small grin. Ria spun around, tears trailing her cheek slowly, as she gazed at Issei. The words having the most effect on her. Issei just stood there for a moment, something in his soul told him that was the right response. I can't take back what you did, and I don't know if I'll ever really get over what you have forced me into, but you say I have this power in me. Something that makes me special. I can't just sit around and be mad. Not if someone needs help. He spoke, a sad grin stretching across his face. It did take some getting used to, but well he could deal. Plus, it would give him an excuse to be around really pretty women. Rias just stood there for a moment, her eyes locked on Issei. A laugh broke her lips, and before anyone knew it, she had tackled the boy in a hug. Gratitude pouring from her presence. I'll make this up to you. Somehow. I swear. Rias softly spoke into Issei's neck. She owed him that much. Issei just let his grin soften, much less sadness in it, as he wrapped his arms around the older girl. Yeah, it was the right choice. Scene change. Naruto gazed out the bay window in the occult research room. Rias had taken Issei away to explain some things to him. His new role as a pawn in the contracts devils fulfilled, things like that. Naruto was a bit proud of the guy. Helping someone that forced you into slavery, for lack of a better term, was no small thing. Plus, he assumed when Issei learned of all the actual benefits of devilhood, he wouldn't be too upset. Issei was a pervert after all. I haven't seen a smile like that on you in a while. Ria's voice came from Naruto's side. She had entered a moment ago while he had been musing. How did everything go? Naruto stared at the moon hanging over the night sky. Kuo was always so beautiful at night. After he found out about the possibility of having a harem, well, let's just say I think things are well on their way to friendship, hahaha. The laugh that escaped her lips was only a little forced. It was true, after everything was explained, from strengths to weaknesses, plans for the future and future rewards, Issei had become all too accepting of his role. It was a little worrying actually. I knew it would. Perverts are pretty easy to make happy. Naruto leaned against the window frame and took in Ria's features. She looked drained, but happy. If you knew how to control his reaction, why didn't you? Rias never understood Naruto. He could read everyone, but it seemed he always did things the hard way. I learned a long time ago, you can't force loyalty. You can't mask problems. You have to overcome them. Confront them. He looked back out the window. Issei deserved the truth, the cold hard facts, so he could make an informed decision. I just had faith in the kind of man he is. What would have happened if he hadn't been so good? Naruto turned to Rias. She was second-guessing herself. I would have cashed in some favors with a Formayu and got him released from your service. Naruto was an honest person, that much could be said. Rias looked at the blonde in shock. To use any political pull for something so small baffled her. Life isn't a game, Rias-chan. Issei, he had a right to his choice, something you stole from him. Had he not wished to stay, I would have taken it back for him. As I would for anyone. I can't let people suffer in silence if I have the ability to help. Naruto knew he was losing some points with Rias here, but if Issei deserved the truth, so did Rias. He wasn't some master planner, he was just a guy trying to do the right thing. You know, you amaze me, Naruto. Rias caught the blonde's attention, she knew. A blush spread across her face. I don't think I've ever met someone so inherently good before. Naruto grinned ruefully at the redhead's words. Haha, it's not about being good or bad, I just want people to choose for themselves, you know. We all deserve that. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. It wasn't any heroic intent, just what he felt was needed in the world. Choice. Well, for what it's worth, I think you and Issei are a lot of like in that regard. Both really good men. Rias put a hand to her chest. She didn't dare turn to look at Naruto, for fear he'd understand what she was really trying to say. She still hoped he did though. Haha, yeah, I guess so. Someone's gotta be the hero, right? The smile that split Naruto's face forced his eyes closed, never seeing the slight disappointment crossing the girl's features. I think it's time to turn in though. I have a meeting with the council tomorrow that I can't miss. The old man would kill me. The humor in Naruto's voice was as plain as the smile on his face. Rias returned the smile, truly set at ease for the first time that day. Yeah, things are starting to pick up around here, we could use the rest I suppose. Naruto turned to walk out of the room, but a petite hand caught his own, stopping him in his tracks. He turned and Rias captured him in a hug, arms around his waist. He raised an eyebrow in confusion. Thank you for making me face a say today, honestly. The words were muffled by Naruto's shirt. I don't know if I could have kept myself honest. Rias felt a pat on her head as Naruto's other arm wrapped around her back. Nah, you would have been fine. The conviction in Naruto's voice made Ria's face heat up once more. You guys just don't seem to get it. You devil types make it so complicated. Just have faith in yourself and in others and it'll all work out, hahaha. Naruto pulled back from Rias and looked down into her eyes. I have faith in you guys and we all know what a good judge of character I am. Naruto's grin could have lit up the room. Rias felt her blush deepen. She really hated how this dense blonde made her feel. All without even trying. Hineko was right, Naruto was stupid. Naruto looked around, taking in the strange room he found himself in. By all rights, it looked like a counselor's office. Large wooden desk, plush single seat behind it. A large landscape window with a beautiful sunrise as the view. On the halls to either side were rows upon rows of books, stacked neatly on the shelves that cradled them. A few exotic and decorative plants lay here and there. The ceiling was particularly interesting, painted like that of a clear night sky, stars and nebula strewn beautifully like art on a canvas. Well, that in itself wasn't too out of place, it looked like the artwork was moving. That one had Naruto scratching his head. Amazing, isn't it? Naruto snapped his gaze forward once more and almost bolted from his chair. Occupying the once empty posh chair on the other side of the desk was a man. He had a set of thin-rimmed glass, heavy 5 o'clock shadow and brown hair. Storm blue eyes gazed easily at the young blonde, filling him with a sense of something Naruto couldn't really describe. The man looked in his early 20s, but something in his eyes made Naruto question that. Who are you? Naruto asked. He felt really on edge, in a room he couldn't place, with a man he had never met. His fight-or-flight instincts were ready to take hold. If that isn't a good question, I don't know what is. We'll get to that later though. Tell me, who are you? It's not often I get unexpected visitors. The man leaned back, an easygoing smile on his face. Naruto once more looked around, the longer he sat in this room the more unsettled he became. Naruto. He answered hesitantly. He needed to buy time to make a getaway. Something about this room was wrong. A snap was the other man's reply, as some kind of book appeared before him. It held a faint glow and looked important, to say the least. Naruto, here we are. Seems you are a bit early. The man gazed at the book calculatory. Before he snapped his fingers and the book was once more gone. Seems you got here by mistake, my boy. Don't worry. I'll answer all your questions next time. The man pointed a finger at Naruto, which began to glow. Next time? Naruto blinked in confusion before a flash of light took over his vision. Line break. Naruto sat upright in his bed, a deep gasp leaving his chest. With sweat clinging to his form he quickly took stock of his room. Jesus, that was weird. He swept a hand through his hair, trying to dismiss the dream. Naruto had to sigh. The last few days had been woefully stressful. He had been tracking the movements of the fallen angels inside Kuo City, and it had not been easy going. The blonde teen leaned back onto his bed, draping an arm over his eyes. Shit just couldn't be easy, could it? Word from the back rooms and underground hangouts of all beings supernatural had painted a fairly grim picture. Kidnappings and murders were being covered up left and right, high-priority contacts for the devils had been disappearing, that added on to the ambient holy energy inside the city, had left Naruto uneasy. Naruto let out another dramatic sigh before lumbering to his feet. He was already half-dressed, in a set of black cargo pants, might as well get ready for the day, perhaps knock out a few more hours of recon. He glanced at the clock across the room. 2:15 a.m. flashed against the darkness inside his living space. Sometimes, being a good guy sucked. Line break. Naruto walked along a back alley. The route he was currently on was one that led to a local hangout for all kinds of unsavory types. Mercenaries, contract killers, people who had left devil peerages and even a fallen or two. Anyone trying to run away or with an axe to grind. Naruto once more looked over his outfit, making sure nothing unusual stood out to the doorman. Clad in a burnt orange flak vest that had a fair amount of front pockets, a black t-shirt underneath, along his legs were his black cargo pants. Finishing off his look were a pair of steel-toed combat boots. With his hair and whisker tattoos, the outfit should make him being a merc an easy sell. He had been visiting places like this all throughout Japan. Cuckoo had ingrained into him the necessity of information in hostile territories, and this was no different. Naruto had called up a contact from the Yokai faction, and the Toadstool was a perfect meeting place. Dark, out of the way, and most importantly, under the radar. Rounding another corner, Naruto came up short. The toad was currently going up in smoke. Shit. Felix. Naruto took off in a sprint, bum rushing the door and into the raging inferno. He held a hand just under his eyes, trying to block the rising heat so he could see as clear as possible. There were bodies all along the bar floor, far too many for one man. Luckily Naruto knew how to be more than one man. Shadow clone Justu. He whispered, in a puff of cloud. 6 copies stood at his sides, and quickly, they all set to work, each grabbing as many people as they could carry, some taking 2 or 3 at a time. Now to find Felix. Naruto made his way further into the burning bar, the heat and smoke impairing his advance, till he was able to make it to a backroom door. Their designated meeting place. The door had been kicked in, and a dried bloody handprint was on the wall. So someone had left, probably Felix knowing his tenacity. Naruto quickly looked for a blood trail, finding one a few feet down the hall, opposite where he came in. It was trailing to the back exit. Naruto made one last clone, to search the building for any other people trapped inside. He couldn't put out the fire, far too many people would ask questions now, it was best to say who he could. He quickly took off and burst out the back door. The sight that met him made his stomach do flips. The man was propped up against the wall across from the door. He had short-cropped brown hair, a jagged scar going down the right side of his face. He had a set of piercing green eyes, dressed in what would pass as a bartender outfit with an orange tie, button-up white shirt, a black pencil-striped vest, an orange handkerchief in the breast pocket, finished with black dress slacks, and black sneakers. This was Felix, Naruto's primary underground contact, a former member of the Catholic Church, excommunicated for crimes against God. Which amounted to basically anything the church says. And he was currently bleeding out. There was a dead body off to his left, a pool of still cooling blood beneath it. Felix Naruto approached the man slowly, making sure to look out for any traps. The closer Naruto drew, the more he could see the extent of the damage. 2 small holes, slight charring, one on the left pectoral, the other on the lower right abdominal group. A slash mark went across his chest diagonally, left shoulder to right hip. Fuck, this was bad. The charring meant light-based weaponry. Either the church, or given the nature of their upcoming discussion, fallen. Naruto knelt beside his long-time contact, and more recently in the last few years, friend. Hang on man, I'll get you out of here. Naruto placed a hand on Felix's shoulder, and the scarred man jolted, bringing a knife he had palmed up to slash Naruto's throat. Naruto was quicker, grabbing the striking wrist and clamping down, not enough to break the bones, but enough to halt the offending knife. Felix, it's Naruto. The injuries man looked up, for the first time taking in the blonde's appearance. Naruto Felix allowed his arm to go limp, a hacking cough ripping through his form. Did you get th number of that bus? Naruto gave Felix a perplexed look. What are you? The one that fucked up your face, hahaha, cough. Felix let a bloody smile shine through with his joke. Naruto had to grin too, despite the circumstances. Felix, ever the joker. What happened here, Felix? I thought the toad was in neutral zone. Naruto started to apply pressure to the more dangerous bleeds, trying to stem the slowly expanding pool of blood below his friend. Fallen 3 of them with 2 stray exorcists. Male, 2 females. Felix gasped as pain racked his form. Naruto wasn't exactly a doctor. They came demanding answers. Asking about some ancient stuff the local devils. Started laying into the mercs before someone gave me up as an info broker. I fought back, set the bar to burn. Fallen dipped, the 2 strays followed me out the bar. Naruto had been working through a field medical kit throughout the explanation and had just dumped quick clot across Felix's chest, searing the wound partially closed. Jesus fuck. War coughing next time. Oh, suck it up. We both know you've been through worse. Remember Panama? Naruto said with a grin as he quickly wrapped a bandage along the wound. He had to finish this up, Felix needed far more help than Naruto's field medicine could do. Fucking bastard. The second stray got away, nicked his leg with my other knife before I stuck it in Dumb and Dead's throat. Felix cast a glance at the dead body beside him. At least he took one of the pricks. Alright, enough, let's get you back to Kyoto. I've done all I can here, we need Matabi to look at you. Naruto said, hauling Felix up and supporting him with an arm over his shoulders. Felix groaned. Can't you just leave me here to bleed out? She'll tease me the whole time I'm laid up. He liked Matabi enough, great woman, gorgeous as all hell, but damn did she have a vicious tongue. Well, shouldn't get hurt, then haha. Naruto laughed at his friend's misfortune before the 2 vanished in a flash of yellow. They never saw the white-haired man slink out of the alley, the dead stray over his shoulder. Line break. Naruto dropped Felix onto the medical table located at the Kyoto temple, with the quick clot holding. Bleeding out wasn't a major problem, but he still needed to get Matabi here now. Another flash and Naruto was in Matabi's room. Hard to tell with how dark it was. Shit, I forgot what time it is. Naruto-kun. A sleepy voice broke him from his thoughts, a distinct purr at the end of the words. Yup. Definitely her room. Yakai she may be, but she was also a cat. I'm sorry to wake you Matabi-chan, I need your help in the medical bay. Felix is hurt again. Naruto said in a rush, he may be patched, but Felix was still in danger. Take me to him, let's see what that idiot got into this time. Matabi grumbled, tying a sleeping robe around her form as she stepped closer to Naruto, you owe me too. I was having a very nice dream. Yes, Flash, I'm sure I do. Naruto just nodded as he transported them both in the middle of his sentence. Geez, wake a cat up and suffer for all eternity. I'll remember that, brat. Now what did you get up to, Exile? Matabi approached the downed bartender. How many times have I asked you not to call me that? Felix groaned. God, why did she have to be the only medic he trusted? Nowhere near enough. Naruto, get some gloves, I'll need your help. Scene change. 3 hours. 3 hours with his hands in his friend's chest. Naruto needed a shower. Badly. Phew, well he'll live probably. Knowing his luck, I can't be certain. Matabi whipped some sweat from her forehead as she walked out of the medical bay. It was a good thing you found him when you did, otherwise he wouldn't have made it. Why didn't you use chakra to patch job the wounds? Her tone was only slightly incredulous. I couldn't be sure we were alone. If anyone saw us, I can play off the teleportation. The magic healing hands. Not so much. Pretty much every supernatural can teleport, very few can heal. Naruto rubbed a hand through his hair, gloves long discarded. This would be on his mind for a while. How did this happen anyway? I haven't Felix this messed up since you two met. Matabi gave Naruto a pointed look. I was supposed to meet him at the toadstool to get some info on recent fallen movements in Kuo. I got there and the place was ablaze. Saved who I could on the inside. Felix was out back, a dead stray exorcist by his side, talking about some fallen that attacked. Male and 2 females. Nothing beyond that, I was in a hurry to get him to you. Naruto leaned against a wall beside the bay doors. If the fallen were getting this bold, things in Kuo were worse than he thought. Matabi sighed, Naruto never knew how to relax. The training her and the others put him through took a little too well. Well, he should be awake and ready to talk in a day of 2. Try and relax till then. She wasn't shocked that Naruto shook his head before she had even finished speaking. No can do, I gotta get back to Kuo. We've been tracking these guys for weeks, maybe I can pick something up from the alleyway. Naruto pushed off the wall, stopping long enough to give Matabi a small hug. Thanks for the help, Matabi-chan. Don't know where I'd be without you. Matabi just laughed and hugged him back, probably on that table or worse. Naruto laughed at the grime humor. Leave it to Matabi to try and brighten the mood. I'll be back in an hour or 2, I'll catch you and whoever is here up then. Mind waking them for me? K, thanks, bye. And with that Naruto was gone, a bright flash in his wake. Wait, that son of a bitch. Matabi growled, leave her to wake the council at 6 am after a hard surgery. Oh, he was gonna pay. Line break. Naruto chuckled to himself as he reappeared in his apartment. Matabi would make him pay for that sooner or later, but he couldn't resist. He suddenly grew serious. Time to check out that fight scene. Scene change. Fuck. They still had cops and fire departments on scene. The building looked mostly put out, but with all these people, he couldn't use some of his fancier tracking abilities. Suddenly Naruto sniffed. He knew that scent. Polished steel and gunpowder. Felix. Naruto looked around, his eyes landing on a white-haired man that was quickly walking from the police barricades, a heavy limp impeding his movement. Naruto narrowed his eyes, the cross might be a coincidence, but that kind of limp and the smell. Naruto quickly decided to follow the man. It was nearing dawn, and the council would be expecting a report in an hour, might as well have something to tell them. Line break. Naruto was annoyed, no doubt about it. 20 minutes he had been following this man, and he was starting to think he had been wrong. No unusually stops, no shifty contact, nothing. Their latest stop was a train stop, one coming in from Tokyo apparently. Naruto bit back a sigh, maybe this was a waste of time, I must be slipping. A dry chuckle split his lips, drawing a few stares, but Naruto didn't care. Maybe Matabi was right, maybe he was working too much. Suddenly the white-haired man was grabbing a young girl. Perhaps 16. Blonde hair, looked to be dressed as a nun. He knew it. This bastard had ties with the church. Naruto silently snuck closer, attempting to hear the conversation. Where the hell have you been? You were supposed to be here 2 days ago. Harsh whispers uttered from Whitehead to Goldilocks. I'm sorry father, I must have boarded the wrong train. The girl whispered back sadly. Naruto felt a little bad for the girl, based on the accent, she probably couldn't read kanji, much less speak Japanese to ask for directions. Whitehead wasn't having it though. No excuses. You almost ruined everything. Come on. We need to get to the church. He grabbed the girl's arm roughly and fully tugged her along, her bags trailing behind her by the free hand. Ah father please, that hurts. The girl had tears in the corners of her eyes, a pained expression on her face. If there was one thing Naruto couldn't stand, it was seeing women hurt in any way. The hell with cover. Hey jackhole. You're hurting her. Naruto clamped down on the white-haired man's wrist, having moved in between the two church members in seconds. The man screamed, the pressure causing his bones to groan in protest. The girl just gasped and stumbled back, the forward momentum no longer there. "Who the fuck are you?" The man growled, trying and failing to free his arm. "Let's just say I'm the kinda guy that doesn't like to see people forced to do things they don't want." Naruto applied a bit more pressure to the man's wrist, forcing him to kneel in pain. "Why don't you run along before this becomes an issue?" A few sets of eyes were on them now. Luckily enough, the early hours meant not many people were at the station. "And no, please. Don't hurt Father Fried. He wasn't forcing me. I'm the new nun for the local church." His grip was just a little tight. Blonde tried to reason, drawing Naruto's attention and making him loosen his grip. Unfortunately, Fried took this as the time to attack. It was the scream of knife from the crowd of onlookers that allowed Naruto to dodge the sneak attack. A silver dagger passed harmlessly in front of his chest as he took a half step back with his left foot, angling the priest directly in front of Naruto's dominant right side. A swift right jab to the center brought a gasp from the priest. Naruto, already in motion with his left hand, grabbed the stabbing hand of the man. He dragged the arm down and his knee up in short order, snapping the priest's arm like a stick and forcing him to drop the knife. Even as he fell to his knees, a silent scream leaving his lips, breath still not caught from the harsh jab to his midsection. Naruto heard the horrified gasp of the blonde behind him and he turned, half expecting her to be preparing to attack him. He just saw a blonde teenager brushing past him, dropping to her knees and a green glow coming from her hands, which were placed as the joint Naruto had just shattered. She has a sacred gear was the first thought to pass through Naruto's head. The next was far less pleasant. Naruto blinked in confusion. Was this girl healing the bastard that just tried to drag her off? As the glow faded, the girl stood, then rounded on Naruto, a look Naruto couldn't really place in her eyes. "That wasn't necessary, sir." The words came out just below a shout. Her fists were clenched at her sides. "You didn't have to resort to violence. Lady, he just tried to put a knife in me." "You damn right I had to resort to violence." Naruto was more than annoyed. First he tries to help the girl, then he defends himself and she yells at him. "Fuck that. What did you want me to do? Let him stab me?" Naruto tossed an accusing finger to the knife on the ground, a few steps beside him. "Father Fried wouldn't have done that had you not grabbed him first." The girl stomped a foot. Damn, she must be seriously angry. Naruto just sighed. "Fine, whatever. Waste of my time." Naruto started to stalk off, not before stopping and pocketing the knife, might as well see if he can grab some information off of it. As Naruto moved further away, he cast a glance over his shoulder. The blonde girl was helping Fried to his feet. Naruto scuffed. "So much for being a good Samaritan." Naruto turned down a corner at the end of the train station, then vanished in a flash. Scene break. Isaka was concerned. Usually, both her daughter and herself were ecstatic to find out Naruto was back in Kyoto, odd as it was considering he could be there whenever. However, today, something seemed different. The blonde teen had a frown etched onto his face, a slight slump in his usually controlled strut. Something was troubling him, deeply. "Naruto-kun, are you alright?" Yusaka asked him gently as she took up stride beside him, walking down the halls leading to the council chamber. "Huh? Oh yeah, Yusaka-chan, just something stupid." Naruto grumbled. He'd never expected that girl to react the way she had. It was off-putting and ruining his mood. "Well, it sure seems like something. I haven't seen you this upset in a long time." Yusaka put a hand on Naruto's shoulder, halting both of them. "You know you can talk to me, or anyone here, right?" Sometimes the blonde teen forgot he had a support network ingrained at the shrine. "Yeah, I know. I got into a fight with a priest at Kuo Station. He was manhandling some blonde girl, so me being me, decided to put a stop to it." Naruto waved his hand in a dismissive gesture. "Unfortunately, it seemed my help was unnecessary. The girl got all pissy after I broke the white-haired bastard's arm after he pulled a dagger on me." Yusaka just nodded along silently. "Speaking of, can you have some people check this out? See who made it and where." Naruto held up the mentioned knife. Its blade was a startling silver, the grip and hand guards making it look like a silver cross. "I'll take it to Son when he gets back, see if he knows anything. He's become quite the weapon collector," Yusaka said as she took the proffered dagger. "Thanks, Yusaka-chan. You're the best." Naruto wrapped Yusaka in a hug before he hurried off. He had kept the others waiting long enough. He completely missed the smile and slight blush on the older fox's cheeks. Yusaka put a hand to her cheek. "Well, yes, I suppose I am," she thought with a slight laugh. That boy had no idea the effect he had on women. Yusaka stared down at the knife in her free hand. "Might as well try and get started now, Son wouldn't be back for another 3 days." Line break. Naruto took in the forms of the others in the council chamber as he entered the room, a folder tucked under one arm. Daisuke was here clad in his usual dark gray yukata, no surprise really. He didn't really seem to leave the shrine with the way he limped. Naruto still had to get that story. To his left stood Matabi, now clad in a flowing light blue gown, long platinum blonde hair pinned in a bun that made her two-tone eye color, right yellow, left green, pop beautifully, with wooden sandals on her feet. To Jayuki's right stood Shukaku, a far cry from the boy Naruto had met long ago. Still small in stature, and for some odd reason still calling Naruto father, he now wore black martial arts slippers, black socks, followed by beige cargo pants. He had a crimson t-shirt with a beige flak vest, much like the one Naruto supported. Isobu sat off to one side, a rounded shield propped against his chair, a book in one hand, the other holding a mug of what Naruto could only guess was either tea or coffee. He was a stout-looking man, light gray hair that clashed with his pink eyes, a set of what looked like stitches trailing from his left eye, down his cheek. He wore a set of dull white pants, with a gray shirt over his shoulders set a half cloak. Now shoes for some odd reason that Naruto could never quite understand. Tamae was laying on the floor on her stomach playing cards. Weird. She was a taller than average woman, caramel skin tone that matched well with her bright orange eyes. Man, Tamae is so lucky. She had light teal hair and an intricate tattoo that stretched from her shoulders all the way down to the back of her calves, in the shape of wings. She wore a cut-off white t-shirt with fishnet underneath, a large spade printed on the back. Finishing the look was a set of jaded blue jeans. Seiken was the last Naruto could see, a lanky man, clad in a blue yukata, an orange sash around his waist. He had lavender hair that parted to the right. In his right hand set a pipe that had bubbles coming out of it every few seconds. Naruto still didn't understand that one. Looks like everyone is here that can be. Naruto spoke up, dragging everyone's attention to himself. Which raises the question as to why. It's early, brat. Couldn't this wait? Jayuki grumbled in his usual baritone. He hated waking up early. Brother, stop being mean to father, he's gonna punish you, Shukaku chimed with a sing-song voice, waving a finger in a chiding fashion, causing the others to sigh and Jayuki to groan. Aku, buddy, for the 1000th time, Naruto is not father. Tamae spoke up, shaking her head. That's just because you guys can't see it. Shukaku can though, and one day father will show you as well. Shukaku spoke as he nodded sagely. That can all wait. I gathered everyone for something actually vital at the moment. Felix was attacked in Kuo. Naruto cut through the noise in the room. They could banter later. The hush met his words. What are the casualties? Seiken spoke, a bubble floating from the pipe in his mouth. At this time, I can't be sure. I know he killed one of the assailants. They burned the toadstool. They wanted information on the locals and some innocent mumbo-jumbo. Naruto placed his hands on the table, the folder being tossed down in front of him, a set of photos sliding across the table. From what I got out of him before me and Matabi worked on him was 3 fallen angels, 1 male, 2 female. Along with 2 stray exorcists. One of which got a knife to the throat, the other got a cut along the leg. Naruto sorted through the pictures and found one of the white-haired man from the train station. I'm not sure, but I am guessing that this is the other stray. When I went back to look for any clues, he was there. He stalked off with a heavy limp, but it was the scent that really captured my attention. Polished steel and gunpowder. Naruto looked at Matabi directly. Felix. Was the cat Yakai's one-word response. She knew that scent well. Exactly. Shit is hitting the fan in Kuo. Kidnappings, murders, disappearances, and now, we have what seems a sacred gear user joining the fallen. I would put my money on Twilight healing from how fast she fixed that bastard's arm. Naruto pulled out another photo, this one of a young blonde girl. So what do we do? Tamae asked. It was a tricky situation they were in. If they attacked the fallen without proof, it could lead to conflict between the Grigori and Yakais, which would drag in the devils due to their alliance, and Church wouldn't miss a chance to take out its biggest thorn in the side. Total war was the short answer. Right now I have a few clones around the city, investigating several areas, the old church included. I plan on going to see Rias later, see if she has any useful information. Naruto said as he straightened out.